All right, welcome in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. It is Wednesday, September 10th, right here on Jocks 94.5. As we head towards week 3 of college football season, what games have in store for us this weekend? There's a couple that we haven't really hit from last week that we need to get to. Some impressive performances that we want to go over, that we want to discuss, that we want to talk about. We'll hit those as well across the course of the show today. Also, Trent Dilfer going to be with us at 7:30, Aaron Murray at 9. We'll talk some Tennessee football today as they've got a big one coming up this weekend. And I'm interested in that game and beginning a preview of that game because I feel like there's a lot of folks that are already on both sides of it. And we haven't had people on both sides of this game in a long time. I can't remember the last time we went into a Georgia-Tennessee game and said, well, I think you can see it going this way. I think I could see it going that way. And this year, I feel like we had that a little bit. I feel like there's been one Tennessee team, maybe last year, a couple of people on board with the Vols. Maybe it was 3 years ago, the Hendon Hooker year, maybe people thought. Not 100% certain if there was the confidence that year that there is going into it this year as far as Tennessee, what they might be able to do. Not having both your starting corners is going to be a problem. So that's one that we'll keep an eye on and one that we'll have to look at as far as what it's going to be and maybe what it could be. But we'll talk to Mike Keith about it at 8:20 today and get his thoughts, the new play-by-play voice of the Tennessee Volunteers, and just see what he thinks about Colton Hood filling in, Ty Redmond, true freshman, filling in. Colton Hood, by the way, leads the SEC in PBUs, former Auburn, former Colorado DB. But we've had the conversation about the PBU stat as well on this show. Like, I don't know how that works. I'll go watch film of a game, and I'll see 7 DBs knock down passes across the course of a game. You look at the box score, and one guy had 1 PBU. I don't know how we track these, how we look at these. I don't know what makes that an actual statistic. I don't know how we grade that. I don't know where we look at that. One other thing I wanted to get to today, we've got our national championship odds that have been reset. Do we have a clearer picture right now as to who's going to win a national championship, who can win a national championship? Has that whole picture clarified at all for you? Where are you on the best teams in college football right now? Because remember, we went into the season and said there's a chunk of about 4, maybe 5 that could do it, don't really know. Penn State hasn't looked great. The ability to run the football has not been what I thought it would be. Just hasn't been a clean operation thus far. Now, listen, they're 2-0. You're not going to complain about it. You're not going to be mad at it. 46-11 against Nevada and 34-0 against FIU. Sounds like it's been great, but when you dive into it, it hasn't necessarily been dominant. Has there been dominance so far in college football? Like, we take Miami and we look at the fact, all right, they beat Notre Dame, they need to be up there in that conversation. You take Ohio State, they beat Texas, they need to be in that conversation. Where are we on LSU right now? Does a Clemson win that good? There's got to be concerns about Clemson, right? 27-16 over Troy, you won the game. We had the conversation with McElroy, who's not in today, yesterday about what some of these lower-tier teams are thinking, doing, what they want, maybe what some of the motivation is. He referenced seeing Trent Dilfer speak at the Monday Morning Quarterback Club here in Birmingham. Or is it the Birmingham Touchdown Club? Birmingham Quarterback Club? Quarterback Club of Birmingham? Touchdown Club of Greater Birmingham area? I get
Greater Alabama Quarterback Club
of Birmingham. I don't know. I don't know the exact name of it. I know they do a great job. Where are we on some of these teams? A lot of folks down on Georgia right now. I've seen this play before. I've read this script before. Oh, Georgia doesn't have this. Oh, Georgia doesn't have that. That's what scares me about where we are with this game this weekend right now. It's because I've seen this script before. The Kirby's team is down. Kirby doesn't have what he once did. Kirby doesn't do this well. His quarterback can't play. A lot of people mad about quarterback not throwing deep balls. We'll ask Aaron Murray about that at 9 o'clock today. But then when we get to that stopping point around 8, 7 in college football, we thought some of these other teams might be impressing us by now. Like A&M hasn't looked clean, per se. Ole Miss, I think, is ahead of where I thought they would be right now. Like, I would have Ole Miss higher than 17. Now, you got your quarterback dinged up and you can't block. Other than that, the D-line's been better than I expected. The running back position has improved. And if your quarterback can stay healthy, I think you can go win games. South Carolina. I think South Carolina is still in that sort of middle of the pack where we thought they would be going into the season of, yes, take over guys on the team. Couple dudes going to be really scary. But collectively, are they going to be a really good football team? And how crazy is it that a lot of folks are beginning to stamp Saturday night as we'll find out for South Carolina? Against who? Vanderbilt. I'm just saying. It's where we are right now.
Never thought you'd see that, at least, again.
Let me tell you guys about Vandy right now. Vandy got a couple guys that y'all might want to know about. Because what Clark Lee did in the offseason, there's 2 things to know about Vanderbilt right now. 1, 3 things to know about Vanderbilt right now. 1, they have the most underrated player in the Southeastern Conference, Cedric Alexander at tailback. I do think he's less than 100%. I don't think he's at full capacity. I may be wrong. He's got the sleeve on the right leg. Maybe this is like a Josh Reed thing where it's trying to look cool. Maybe it's an NBA thing where, he's trying to keep the calf warm, something. I don't really know. But he doesn't feel like, even from game 1 to game 2, it doesn't look like he had the same energy that he did in game 1. Same juice. But still effective. Still helping him. 2, they went and got some offensive linemen. Now, it's not pretty. Technically, fundamentally, it's not super sound. You don't look at it and say, boy, that's coaching clinic tape right there. But similar to how Greg and I described Fresno State's O-line a couple of years ago, like they got a couple bar bouncers in there. Like they can throw you out the club. Consistency with how they do it might not be great, but they'll get you out of there. And we had our early week production meeting yesterday morning after this show, and Jordan was asking me about it. Jordan Rogers, who's usually on the call for our games on Saturday nights. He said, Cole, have you seen a Vanderbilt offensive line with this size and this physicality? And my answer immediately was no. Not in my lifetime. Now, have I seen one that operated together a little bit better? Yeah, probably. Have I seen one that kept the pad level down just a little bit better? Their footwork was better? Yes, I have, for sure. But these dudes trying to knock you around. They're trying to trade some paint. And then 3, with Vanderbilt, this is where the problem begins. Because all those are pluses, plus. You still have a mismatched tight end. You still have a defense that has experience. Hybrid players can do some different things. I do think they've added a couple guys on defense that help them attack a little bit differently, a little bit more physical, a little bit more size. But here's where you celebrate and gasp at the same time. It's Diego Pavia. Because Diego Pavia is going to give you 3 to 5 expletive plays a game. 3 to 5, no, he didn't. Yes, he did. Or, no, he didn't. What are you doing? And I really do believe when you watch these plays, whether it's running laterally, getting tackled by somebody going down, and you throw a pitch over your back shoulder, guy catches it and goes for 10 yards. Or what he's somewhat famous for, these fadeaway deep throws off the back foot while he's getting hit. Like, it's okay to throw the ball in the stands. But these fadeaway tosses, chuck it 50 yards down the field, he had one against Virginia Tech. Should have been an interception. Penalty saved him. Did it against Texas a couple times last year. Did it against Alabama, and it was a touchdown. So what are the 3 to 5 wholly expletive plays from Diego Pavia going to end up being for Vanderbilt in this game? Is it going to be a touchdown? Is it going to be 2 first downs? Is it going to keep drives alive? Is it going to give South Carolina the ball? Because 2 things South Carolina is going to offer up front. 1, guys that can attack you, and these guys are going to get to you a little bit more quickly than about anybody else you're going to see. And then 2, a veteran-laced secondary that knows how to get to the ball. And they're going to show you things pre-snap, and they're not going to be in that post-snap. But I think that's going to be a fun game. Because I think Vanderbilt's defensive front 7 may have an advantage against South Carolina's offensive line. And South Carolina's offensive line is playing hard. They are bringing energy. They're fierce. They're just not great. They're just not a great group. But then you got these other teams like Florida State. Are they what they appear to be? Maybe. Illinois kind of have looked that way and then kind of haven't looked that way. I mean, I picked Illinois to be in the Big Ten championship game. Felt pretty good about them. Stumbled around against Duke and then turned it on. Where's Oklahoma for us right now? Are they still in that middle of the pack of, yeah, they're going to be one of those teams that's towards the top of the middle of the pack? Or are you placing them in the top third of the SEC already? Because I think I might be ready to. I'm just telling you guys, John Mateer made 4 throws in this game against Michigan. You may not see – here's why I don't want to say this, because I said this after week 1. I said after week 1, John Mateer made 2 throws that you may not see a better throw than all year. And then he made 3 more throws better than that against Michigan.
One of which was an incompletion, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
To a guy that played linebacker last year. So I'm not even mad at that kid for not catching it because it was still a tough catch. But, I mean, you run a reverse pass, not a double reverse pass. Maybe we should clarify this too quickly for a moment. When a receiver comes around and you pitch him the ball, and another receiver comes around and you pitch him the ball, is that a reverse or a double reverse?
I guess it feels like a double reverse because you went one and did the other. If you put 2 reverse cards down in Uno, that's a double reverse.
But if you run just one receiver around and pitch him the ball, people don't call that a reverse, do they? There has to be the reverse of something initially. I think this is an interesting topic because everybody says double reverse pass when it's a pass. But when it's just a receiver comes around, give it to him, another receiver comes around, give it to him, the opposite direction, we just call that a reverse. Which is it? I've wanted clarification on this for a long time.
So like hook and ladder and hook and lateral?
Well, that's just the wrong words. When a guy comes on a jet sweep and you hand it to him, we don't call that a jet reverse. But he's coming from that side of the field around.
Maybe it's a reverse because we expect the receiver to not be selfless, and then they are.
My understanding would be if you start on the left side and come around behind us and I give you the ball, it has to go the opposite. There has to be a different direction it goes for that to be a reverse because you reverse course of where the play was initially going. So I would have to run a toss sweep, running back get it, then give it to receiver. Now I think that qualifies as a reverse.
That's a reverse because you've indicated one way you're going, and then you switched it up. You remixed it.
But every time it's a pass off of it, it is referenced as a double reverse. But when we hand it to the back and then a receiver comes around, everybody says, reverse! That's what the defense yells.
Yeah.
Reverse! I've never heard a defense yell, double reverse! I've never heard a defense yell that. But every single time they pitch it back to the quarterback, the announcer will say, double reverse. Every time. So which is it? I need to know. But the play you're referencing, yes, it was a reverse pass to the corner of the end zone with 3 defenders right in his face, unblocked, and he throws it sidearm off his back foot and, puts it right over the back shoulder of Jared Kanak. And he couldn't come down with it, but maybe the best throw. I don't know if that's the best throw I've seen him make this year. The one where he got crushed in the side in his own end zone in game 1 that he floated to Deion Burks on the sideline, that might be that's the prettiest throw I think you'll see all year. But he put another one on the sideline in this game against Michigan that was gorgeous. I might have Oklahoma in my top tier. And I'm just telling you, they laughed at me, John. when I told him that Oklahoma had the best D-line in the league. There was one fan base in this league that didn't laugh at me, and it was Oklahoma's. The Texas fans, surprisingly, were the ones that came out of nowhere. And I was like, yeah, y'all got two great edge defenders, maybe three, two great and one really good. But I don't know about your D tackles. What I do know is Oklahoma's got 4 of them, and they might have 5 now. And they got edge guys. So you've got the best D-line in the league. Oh, I'm going to throw this out because I almost just said it. I'm going to ask this as a question. Right this very second. See, I got mad Monday night on Read and React.
You what? Never.
Our producer throws a question up on the screen of a different quarterback not named John Mateer being the best addition in the offseason this year in the SEC. To which, blasphemy, because my answer was simply John Mateer. What did you guys not watch the highlight package we put together 20 minutes ago? So I'll ask it this way. Right this very second, is John Mateer the best quarterback in the SEC? I know who I'm taking, and we're not talking NFL draft. This is not the Browns trying to do it again next year, trading up. This is not the Jags after things fall apart with Trevor Lawrence this year. Right now, best quarterback in the SEC, who are you taking? You're not going to answer? You're going to delay? That's fine. You can delay. I'll ask Trent Dilfer. I don't care. He'll tell me. Next on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. 7:20 right here on Jocks 94.5. Glad you're with us. Listen online, jocksfm.com. That app is in your app store, iPhone, Android. You can download it for free. Always listen on the go. I do want to come back to the best quarterback in the SEC. I'm attempting to find out who the player was that we put on the screen that I thought was egregious. I've asked the Read and React group text and haven't gotten a response yet. But I have a question for you and Damian John here in just a moment. Before we get to that question, I'm going to tell you about Train. It feels okay today. It's going to be nice today, but just look at the weather this weekend. That Alabama heat and humidity is coming back. Don't let it affect your family. Keep them comfortable with an affordable Train cooling system. They've been recognized as America's most trusted brand 11 consecutive years, and they're the official cooling partner here at Jocks. Find a comfort specialist near you at Train.com. It's hard to stop a Train. There was an accusation that took place in my household that I feel like needs to be discussed.
Uh-oh.
It came from a 10-year-old, by the way.
Oh, okay.
If folks don't know, my wife and I do a podcast together now, Tuesday date night. If you want to check that out, you can. If not, great. Good for you. My wife was editing this last week, and my daughter was in the kitchen with her listening to it. And my wife calls me, and she goes, I have to let your daughter ask you a question because she just asked me. And my wife's laughing hysterically when she's doing this. And we're on FaceTime, and she hands her the phone, and she says, Daddy, do you always interrupt Mommy? And I said, what do you mean? And she said, I'm listening to y'all's podcast. And she said, you interrupt Mommy a lot.
Well, then the answer is no, because a lot is not all the time. Therefore, you do not always interrupt Mommy.
It struck fear into me, though, and I wanted to ask this without Greg here because I knew what he would say. Do I interrupt?
Oh, yes. Oh, look at me. I'm Greg. Yeah.
Do I have an interrupting problem?
No. I mean, you're the driver of the show, so you have to set the scene. But I can understand where you start the question because it's like you've been doing this for a while, and then you get your opinion from your daughter. It's like, whoa, am I doing something wrong? I don't think so.
Well, my mother-in-law agreed.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
So there's a trend.
Like, here we go. Now we're piling on.
It also feels a bit one-sided, literally, of the family.
It's fair. Yeah, I haven't asked my side yet. Thought my daughter might be on my side, but guess not. Maybe it's a female thing. I don't know. But I said, I'm going to ask the guys on the show if this is a problem that I have in my other life, in my Jocks life. I know I don't have it on my Saturday night life.
No, not at all.
I asked Roman yesterday, I said, do I interrupt you? And he said, no, why? I called him about something else. He's like, I was just checking. I told him, and he was just laughing hysterically. He's like, man, I interrupt my wife all the time. He's like, you just got to get it in. I was like, I get it. I get it. But
Yeah.
So this is the one excuse that I threw to my wife. I said, listen, I have done radio for a while. I have worked on radio teams in which I wasn't sure I was going to get a response to things that were being said. And me as a radio listener, I fear dead air.
Right.
When I listen to radio shows or podcasts or I watch shows on TV, when things go silent, to me, I immediately think, oh no, something's bad's happening and no one knows what to say. There's either a lack of direction or no one has an opinion, or this thing is just so bad that no one can even say anything, or the order is out of line, whatever it is. So I have always been under the mindset of as soon as something stops, you pick it up and go. No matter what that is, you got to keep the ball rolling. And I tried to explain, I said, there have been times I know I've stepped on Greg because I thought he was finishing and I was going to try to keep it going.
Right.
But I don't know if I just interrupt him in the middle of his sentences either.
Do you? Yes. Is it a problem? No.
No.
Because there have been times where I hear you, sorry to interrupt you, Greg, and you keep going. I think it's because you have a thought, and Greg's probably tried to bore us with something, and then you realize, oh, I've actually got something better. Hold on, I want to keep the audience.
Right.
I want to throw it out there.
Yeah. I just appreciate you
it's like, hold that thought.
having confidence that my thought was better.
No, it is.
Your name is second. First is the worst, second is the best.
Yeah.
I fully expected to come in here today and you guys to say, oh, yeah, you're all the time.
No.
You're always jumping in.
No.
Now, if Greg asked that question, I think
We'll ask him on Friday. I'm interested to see what he says, especially since we won't be in studio.
No fear of retribution.
He has a little more, I think, when we're not in studio. So we'll see. Not that means anything.
the
A little
temperature
more proud of
changes.
himself when we're in hotel
Safe
rooms.
space is clean fleet. Who knew?
Right.
There you go.
Safe space.
No,
Okay.
but it is a nice observation by your daughter, though. You kind of it does. I can see you as a father kind of take a step back, like, whoa, that's. And she has innocence.
And I did.
Like, she's just
No, I
kinda,
did.
it's like a whoa.
And last night when we were recording, I took a lot of steps back and just it was like a 4-second pause between every exchange.
Okay.
So now you see how it sounds. Hang up one or the other. We can wait and have a very lengthy, evenly distributed back and forth, or someone can try to pick up the slack and keep this thing going.
Whew.
Either way.
That pause is extra pregnant.
Don't say that. We took care of that, hopefully.
Don't talk to Justin.
Yeah. All right.
Sometimes it takes 2 strikes.
Oh God.
I can't do it again. I'm just going to be honest with you. I wouldn't do it again.
I wouldn't want you to, though.
No, wouldn't. All right. I want you guys to be thinking about best quarterback in the SEC and some of those teams where they are, national championship picture. We'll come back to that a little bit later in the show. Trent Dilfer, UAB head football coach, joins us next right here on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. No Greg today, but we're going to go to the Higginbotham hotline. Welcome in Trent Dilfer, 7:30 Wednesday, September 10th, head coach of the UAB Blazers. Coach, how are we doing this morning?
Doing good. So it's just me and you this morning?
Just me and you. That's it.
Can you try not to interrupt me like you interrupt your wife all the time?
I'm gonna do my best. So yeah, I know you were asking John about that during the break. I was accused by my 10-year-old of interrupting my wife on the podcast that we do, and she was listening to my wife edit it, and she called me and asked me. She said, "Daddy, do you always interrupt mommy this much?" And I didn't know this was an issue, and my mother-in-law doubled down on it, and so now it's subconscious up there, just kind of driving me crazy. Have I been doing this for a long time? Does this happen in other facets of my life? Do I need to check myself in other places? So yeah, we're doing some self-scouting today, Coach.
Oh yeah, I've raised 3 daughters. It's like having a mirror all the time. They're constantly reminding you of all your flaws. So it's good. It keeps us sharp.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully it's not a problem, and I can have that corrected. Listen, I thought the offense got off to a good start. The turnovers, you never want those, but you had some nice catch and run early. I thought you were getting good movement in the run game. Handled a lot of movement up front with that Navy defense. And that offense is tough, man. I mean, you're going to have to sit there and be really good with it for 4 quarters because so many different things can happen, and they get a couple runs on you, but I don't feel like they busted the big runs, and it's not the outcome that you wanted, but there were some positives that came out of this game for your group.
There are. I think you just hit on them. I thought our offensive line in the first half really handled all the chaos, and there's no other word for it. Backers backfitting, defensive linemen stunning, tons of movement. You have to keep your run game pretty simple. But they ran off the ball. They got a hat on a hat. Our backs did a good job. I thought we were very efficient in the passing game. Defensively, outside the second play of the game where we gave up the big kind of Y sneak, Y hide play. We limited their explosives. But all of it's for naught when you continue to beat yourself, and that's the hardest thing. I was just sick to my stomach for probably, really till yesterday. Just because the number one thing we've tried to fix is raising the floor, playing clean football, not giving games to opponents. And, we come out of the second break, and it was just so uncharacteristic of our offense to give the game away. We get the fumble. We have the 2 interceptions, which, Jalen for 3 weeks has just been flawless in practice in the Alabama State game with his decision-making. He makes 2 uncharacteristic decisions. We don't compete for the ball on one of them. Breakdowns in protection, breakdowns in the run game, wrong routes. It was really disappointing to see us get outside of our character offensively. While defense was going out there actually getting some stops and putting them in tough field position situations. So a lot to learn from. Guys, at least the guys have come in this week, owned it, attacked it, trying to fix it. A lot of them playing banged up and, practicing banged up, which is admirable, and just trying to get better.
And the run game is going to be there. I felt like it was solid for the majority of the game. And like you said, handling a lot of different looks and different things that were taking place. I'm interested from your perspective, the coach. We always hear when there's turnovers, things of that nature, or it's penalties. We've had that conversation with different coaches before. How do you address this? Do you emphasize it to the point that it wears the guys down and you make sure you get that point across, or do you just kind of deal with it for a day and get away from it? Because some people will say, well, you don't want to overemphasize it because then that's all they're thinking about, turning the ball over. Where do you fall in how you discuss this with your players and for how long?
Well, I'll take you inside the building. And I usually don't do this, but I met with the offense. Usually I let Mort take unit meetings with the offense, and I took this one, and I spent the entire day really thinking, working on how to communicate this to the offense. And what I settled on when I looked into how we had played up until that point was, let me show them what they can be when they do it the way they're taught to do it. And I showed the first 13 drives of the season. For 13 drives this season, and if you take our first 13 drives, that's up until the missed field goal. Okay, that's the play. That's up till the last play right before we missed the field goal. We are number 1 in the country, points per drive, by half a point. Not by a third of a point, not by part of a point, by half a point. So we're 5.9 points per drive, 13 drives into the season. That would have been number one in the country last year. It would have been number one in the country the year before. It would have been number one in the country the year before that. Like an exceptional number. We're 13 drives, 5.9 points per drive. We have the number one completion percentage in the country by 5%. We're at 84% through 13 drives. By 5% over the second best in the country. Our yards per play is third in the country at 8.9 yards per play behind USC and Oregon. So for 13 drives into the season, we're the best offense in the country. Just doing it our same old boring way, right? And when I showed them that, they were like, "What? Seriously?" And then I showed, "Hey, now let me show you when you guys start doing it your way." And that's when we have 2 penalties, 3 turnovers, 5 missed assignments by the receivers, and 5 missed assignments by the offensive line. And I'm like, "You guys want to do it our way? We want to do it your way. You guys like success? You like stats? You like increasing your value? You like scoring points? Well, then, you know what? The way we were doing is pretty good. Let's make sure we just stay disciplined in doing it the way you've been taught to do it." And I think the message was heard loud and clear.
And the MAs are just a killer. And it's I talked about this. You've felt this, you've seen this, you've lived this. A great example of this. I talked about all the great things I saw from you guys. If I'd have just watched the film, I probably minus 2 or 3 plays. I wouldn't have thought there was a way you lost the game. The Florida game was another perfect example of this. I tried to share with people. If you just go watch the plays, it wasn't gross like a lot of people wanted it to be. It wasn't as miserable as a lot of people wanted it to be. But those MAs, when one guy's going the wrong direction or you turn somebody free, it's a killer. And I don't know if there's anything that hurts you as fast as one person being on a completely different page, specifically on offense. Defense can make up for that because it's just effort, hustle, guys just making up ground, things of that nature. But it can kill you in a heartbeat. And I don't know what brought that on for you guys. I don't know how you get past it. We all have brain farts every now and then, but I know something that's extremely frustrating.
Yeah, and I think it's what I've learned about this age group, and it was the same when I coached high school football. It was honestly the same when I was in the NFL with young NFL players. It's usually the assignment. It's not that you don't know the assignment. It's that your emotions have taken you to a place where you can't think clearly. It's cluttered mind. And we all deal with it in life, right? Life gets busy, your mind gets cluttered, and all of a sudden you start forgetting things you never otherwise would have forgotten. No different than you forget your keys in the house. Well, why did I forget my keys? Because I had to grab this. Oh, my wife wanted me to do that. Oh, I parked in a different place. Oh, the yard guy just came. Whatever it is, you get distracted, you get emotional, and then you forget your keys. It's the same thing in football. It's when you don't have the ability to calm and clear your mind for the task at hand. And I think that's the hardest thing for at least our players to maintain the discipline of is flush the last play, focus on the play you're on, and don't worry about the thing that's coming next. Just live in the moment is a simple way to say it. If you live in the moment, you clear your mind, and then you focus on the task at hand. It's not, some of the stuff is not rocket science, right? And you have smart players, really smart kids, making mistakes. So it's not an intellect thing. It's not a football IQ thing. It's not a don't understand my job thing. It's not too much volume thing. It's I let something else distract me, an emotion. I let an emotion make a decision for me instead of saying, no, my job on this play is to have no emotion. It's to simply do what I'm asked to do and do what I've trained to do and do what I practice to do. And that's really, I lived it. I told them, by the way, before I did this, I said, listen, every mistake I'm about to show you, and I had 15 plays with multiple mistakes after the missed field goal. I said, every one of these mistakes I have made as a player. But I learned from them, right? And I said, if we learn from this, and the next time we go play and we're in the moment, instead of worrying about what has happened before or what could happen later, then all of a sudden our floor is going to raise, and we're not going to self-destruct again.
It's a great point. Greg shared with us some of the things that you shared at the Birmingham Touchdown Club earlier this week. And it brought something else to my mind, and I wanted to ask you about it to see if you would accept it as sort of an add-on to what you were saying about these lower-level teams competing with these big brands on a pretty consistent basis this year. And he went through how you talked about, listen, some of their backups are playing on these teams that are going to play them, so they're guys of equal talent or at least close talent. And then, the discombobulation of not having guys practice together a lot is catching up with some teams. And I thought about you used the Troy example, and I started thinking about it, Coach. Troy's got a running back at Ole Miss, a center at South Carolina, a tight end at Alabama, a quarterback at Texas, and another guy somewhere else. And I started thinking, what's the game that the guys on Troy's team now is going to get watched by high-level coaches? Probably the Clemson game. And what do all those kids that are on that team now that were on that team last year see their buddies doing? Getting big checks at big schools. And I kind of wondered, is that also part of the motivation where you got all these kids that watch their teammates go get 5, 10, 20 times the bag, and they know this is their opportunity, that all the ACC coaches, some SEC coaches are going to be watching when they scout Clemson, and this is their opportunity to do what their teammates did a year before.
You nailed it. Ding, 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 ding. I think that's the biggest thing. I gave a big answer when Greg asked me that question at Quarterback Club, but I didn't purposely say that one, but you guys obviously are smart guys. That's the biggest thing. People asked me last year, how do we play so good against Arkansas and then we're so bad after it? And I'm like, well, this is the dirty little secret is they know that the scouting departments around the country really will only look at 2 games closely, 3 games closely when they're looking at group of 5 players going up. They'll look at their Power 4 big opponent games and conference rivalry games, the biggest games in conference. So like in the American, you're going to watch us versus Tulane if we had Tulane on our schedule, us versus USF, us versus Memphis. Those are really going to be the 3 because those are 3 schools that have NFL talent. And then they're going to look at our, last year, the Arkansas game. So that you could tell the chatter around the building was, man, I mean, this is life or death because what I put on tape this game is what scouting departments at Indiana, if you're Lee Beebe, who's at Indiana, Cameron Shanks is at Arkansas. That's what Arkansas is going to watch, obviously playing against them. Is it ironic that the guy that scored the touchdown against Arkansas is now out at Arkansas? Amari, that's where Houston ends up giving him a bag. Well, that's the game they're watching the clones. Delano Townsend, who had a high level against an interior defensive lineman from Arkansas that has an NFL grade. Oh, no wonder Ole Miss gives him a bag. Like I can go on and on and on. It's true everywhere. They know if they play to their potential in those games, that those scouting departments at said schools are going to value them at a higher level.
Absolutely. Coach, great stuff. Thanks for the time. We always enjoy chatting with you. Appreciate it. Best of luck this weekend. We'll catch up next week.
All right, buddy. Talk to you.
There you go. Trent Dilfer joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. They get Akron at 7:30 on ESPN Plus this week. So that's one that I think you look at and say, chance to get over 500. Very good chance. And with how they looked, I would suspect that takes place. Like he said, Jalen Kidnap did some really nice things in this game. Thought Javon Jackson ran the ball well. Isaiah Jacobs ran well. Corey Milner made some massive plays at wide receiver. Solomon Beebe had a couple big catches in this game. So I do think that things look good. And that Navy offense is tough, man. It's a tough offense to face. They won't get anything like that this week. All right, when we come back, we'll go have our quarterback conversation again around the Southeastern Conference next on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. 800-239-9569. You want to get in. 800-239-WJOX. Who's the best quarterback in the SEC right now? Who's the best team in college football right now? You can tweet in as well. Give us your thoughts there. See what you think. Also, are there more or less national championship contenders than you thought there would be at this time? How many have you removed? How many have you added? And maybe who's now in that classification of teams that you think could win a national championship, but maybe before did not? Brandon tweets in, statistically, Bo Prabula's got the numbers right now. What is your measurement of the best?
Your eyes, your heart, your opinion?
I would just say what I've seen.
Yeah.
I mean, if we just went numbers, I don't know what that would solve with a lot of the things that we do.
Right. It's kind of just where your heart's at.
What number would completion percentage? Touchdown passes? So right now, Julian's saying best quarterback in America, 79.5% completed.
I mean, if we go by numbers, and I'm not doing this to take a shot at them, but Trent was saying how, like, per drive, like, they're, like, what, half a point just under the number one team? I mean, no offense to UAB, but do we view them as the second best team because they're scoring, on average, most points per drive, or second most points per drive?
Right. There you go. 800-239-9569. You can also text into the show, 205-834-9450. Taylor Green or Maverick McElroy would be your top two quarterbacks in college football, both 10 touchdowns. There's a litany of guys with no interceptions. Would they?
Hey.
By the way, Sawyer Robertson, no interceptions on 98 attempts so far with what he's been asked to do. It's pretty impressive.
2 games, he has 98 attempts. Okay.
They're letting it. They did hire an air raid coordinator.
Yeah, they're full tilt.
So Maverick McElroy has the most yards and tied for most touchdowns in college football. Is he the best quarterback? I don't know if it'd just be numbers.
Right.
I mean, I do think Bo Prabula has exceeded all of my expectations, though. Mm-hmm. He had a great game against Kansas. He made some really nice throws. He does a great job being deliberate when he wants to leave the pocket and run. I've been impressed with his game. Very impressed. I think he's changed the opinion of a lot of people with what Missouri can be this year. Drew Kelson tweets in, too early to tell. Going to be a great debate throughout the season, though. College football guy tweets in, John Mateer, maybe Prabula, as of now, still have a lot of stock in Nuss. Getting a lot of John Mateer coming in here. A couple Blake Shapins.
Okay.
Scott Reed tweets in a picture of Diego Pavia smoking a cigar in his locker after the game.
Hey, he's got Vandy 2-0. They turned, as he would say.
I mean, I think he'd throw an expletive in there, but might have another one. So, Damian, which direction would you go?
I'd lean John Mateer, and I was high on John Mateer going into the season. Greg and Conrad, they kind of pushed the envelope, and when I went back and watched how he played at Washington State, I mean, I kind of pictured, okay, if it clicks at Oklahoma, he can have that thing rolling, and he's done nothing but pick up right where he left off, and I think that it's him, and I'd have Jackson Arnold, Joey Aguilar, Bo Prabula kind of in that realm right behind him. And
wow.
I'd throw Taylor
Where's
Green.
Nuss in there? Taylor Green, and by the way, if you're talking about numbers, Taylor Green's got to be in the discussion.
Yeah, but Alabama A&M.
You're talking about what they've done.
Arkansas State.
I'm just saying, if you're talking numbers.
Yeah. But he still has that interception bug kind of still left in him. Like the plays that I'm kind of banking on him to take that next level, he still kind of has a few kinks left in the armor, but I think he'll eventually get there as the season goes on. But just right now, I would put Bo Prabula, Joey Aguilar, Jackson Arnold, and John Mateer all ahead of him.
Okay. John, which direction would you go?
It's hard to go against Mateer because even though other people may have the stats, we seen the tape, or at least I watched both his games.
Yeah.
You're hard-pressed to find a quarterback, at least in the SEC, playing better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, honestly, Taylor Green, 571 pass yards, 10 touchdowns, 192 rush yards with a touchdown. Just crazy numbers through 2 games.
Yeah.
And you want to compare him to other SEC quarterbacks, he'd be towards the top of the list for a lot. LA Farms tweets in, too early to ask. Ask after week 5. Well, we're asking that today. We might ask after week 5 also.
Right. Got a lot of
Possibly.
season. Got a lot of season left.
Robert Scarpati. Marcel Reed, don't at me. Don't need to with that answer. I will say Marcel Reed made some really nice throws. Marcel Reed sees a little bit of pressure. It's not going to be a nice throw. I can tell you that. And he ain't staying in the pocket. So I still have some things in his game that I see that need to be ironed out. I also, once again, I'll say this about Texas A&M. I want to know who you think you are. Who do you think you are? I am Texas A&M offense, because it appears to be very air raidish to me.
Yes.
It's all shotgun, offset running back, which that limits your run game. They don't even out the formations enough to be able to give the defense a problem as to what runs you're potentially going to throw at them. I feel like it's easy to decipher what is most likely coming in at least one facet of your game. Now, they got a couple receivers that can go, bottom line. Like Greg's been telling y'all about Concepcion for 8 months now, if not longer. So, I mean, he has proven not only catching the football, but in special teams to be worth the price of admission. And you throw in a Mario Craver from Mississippi State, who's been great. Terry Bussey can go. Like they've got some problem childs at wide receiver.
Yeah.
But I'm that offensive line can go. I really believe that. But this is going to be very similar to LSU last year. If you don't give them a chance to, we're going to be at week 8, and Texas A&M fans are going to say, we can't run block. Okay, well, you hand the ball off 11 times a game. You're probably never going to find it if that's the case. And you sit in shotgun with an offset running back to one side. If you just do that all year, no, you're not going to be able to run the ball. You won't. You'll never figure it out. Not a single time. So I don't know why Colin Klein's going this direction. Maybe it's kind of a setup for this weekend. Maybe they know this weekend this is the team that they're not going to be able to line the ball up and run. So you got to you want to work this kind of stuff because you think this will be your best avenue to go beat Notre Dame, which I would actually be fine with if that's the mindset. So after Notre Dame, I want to see you go back to getting in some sort of a pistol eye formation, different looks where you can say, this might be inside zone right or left. It could be outside zone right or left. It could be counter right or left. It could be power right or left. It could be toss right or left. I want to see that because I hadn't seen it yet.
I said the same thing. I was like, after watching Texas A&M past couple games, I was like, you don't have to ask Marcel Reed to throw it 40 times a game. You got quality running backs, a whole stable full that you can just go ground and pound and say, stop us if you can.
And good offensive linemen.
Yeah.
I mean, they did some good things last year. I think they have a chance to be good. And I think you got a little more oomph at tight end this year than you had last season too. So we'll see how that plays out, where it goes. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation around the national championship. What teams are we still allowing to be in that category? What teams have we removed? Who's new in that neighborhood? All next on Jocks. Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. We were going to talk national championship contenders. Who has been removed, who has been added. Notre Dame was on that list coming into the season, and with the way that game went against Miami, I don't think a lot of people would have removed them from that thought process. Pete Sampson covers Notre Dame and joins us now on the Higginbotham Hotline at 8 a.m. Wednesday, September 10th, hour number 2 of Mac and Cube in the morning. Pete, we were just talking about maybe how A&M has been getting geared up for this game because I didn't think that they would appear to be such a pass-heavy team, and not just by the pass attempts, but by their formations, not really showing or letting that offensive line have the ability to fire off and run north-south. Could that be that this was a game that Elko and company looked at and said, we probably won't be able to live that life against them anyway, so let's try to get as good as we can of being in the gun, throwing the ball around, because that might be our advantage against this team? Would that be advantageous if that were Texas A&M's mindset going into this matchup with Notre Dame this weekend?
You know, it's interesting because I feel like Notre Dame's corner play is probably the best A&M is going to see all year. You know, that's a real strength of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
But if you're spreading them out and, like, you're picking on the nickel or isolating the safety, like, I do think that's where A&M can have some success. Like, so I think a lot of, you know, what are you doing between the hash marks if you're A&M in the pass game, and maybe leave Leonard Moore and Christian Gray, Notre Dame's corners, alone. But yeah, see, if I was A&M, I'd try to pick on Notre Dame in the pass game, but I'd do it up the middle opposed to on the perimeter.
When you watch this Notre Dame offense through 2 weeks, where were the biggest strides from week 1 to week 2?
I mean, we'll see in week 2. This is their week 2. You know, they've got, you know, CJ Carr, I thought they did a good job of sort of just trying to get him comfortable at Miami. You know, that was a tough spot to make your college debut. I thought he handled himself pretty well. I think the big adjustment going into their second game is, you know, let's just keep this simple and commit to Jeremiah Love in the ground game. Like, let's make sure he gets 15 carries and 5 receptions, or at least, you know, 5 targets. And then let Carr take a couple deep shots. You know, I understand why they didn't do it at Miami. They're having a hard time protecting Carr, but I don't think Notre Dame was very hard to defend at Miami because everything was so horizontal. You know, they left a lot to be desired pushing the ball down the field.
I don't think you were the only one screaming for Jeremiah Love in that game. I think half the country, as we got past halftime, was kind of wondering after the first few drives what happened. Has Denbrock addressed that in the last week or two?
So we have not talked to him. They didn't make him available to us on Tuesday night. That obviously would have been a big question. I asked Marcus after the game immediately, like, look, did you guys make a mistake there? And he's like, you know what? We run a lot of RPOs and we got a young quarterback. So we got to tell him, like, let's focus on the R and less of the P in that RPO. So I think there will be a big response, a pendulum swing on Saturday night against A&M of really forcing the issue with Jeremiah Love.
And I know that offensive line dinged up a little bit more against Miami. Where is that group right now?
That was probably the biggest surprise to me because I saw them a bunch last year. They were good. I'm not saying they were like the world's greatest offensive line, but like what they showed at Miami was bad. You know, Anthony Knapp is back. He was kind of a cramping issue. They have not said Emil Wagner also kind of got locked up from, you know, cramping humidity, but it certainly played that way. I think the question to resolve is, you know, what do you do at guard? Is it Gerby Lambert or Sullivan Absher? Both played at Miami. Neither of them played that well. I think they're going to stick with Lambert there, but as a first-time starter, he really looked like it. Both those guys did. So they've got to get better on the interior. This could still be a very good line, but what they put on tape against Miami was really poor.
And if Texas A&M does, I mean, we mentioned the cornerback play. Pete Sampson with us on the Higginbotham Hotline previewing Texas A&M and Notre Dame this coming weekend. I would have felt before the season that pass rush is going to be a problem. Maybe not to the extent of what we saw in week 1, but you believe it's still there, correct? That this could be a front that is dangerous if you're trying to live in the pocket 40, 35 times a game.
Yeah, Miami did a really smart job of getting the ball out really quickly. You're never going to get pressure if the ball's coming out in 1.5 seconds. And I think Miami did a really smart job there. But I think Boubacar Traore, Bryce Young at defensive end. I think they have some real dynamic pass rushing linebackers like Kingston Vilayama-Asa. So I still think this will be a strength of the defense, but I went back and watched the game. They brought 4 on 17 dropbacks of Carson Beck and got pressure 1 time. So that's not good enough long term, but I don't think that most teams are going to play Notre Dame the way Miami did in terms of like having a quarterback who can read and process and get the ball out so quick like Carson Beck did.
Pete Sampson covers Notre Dame for The Athletic. He's with us now on the Higginbotham Hotline. If there were some sort of element of surprise, and I'm not even referencing some sort of like sneak attack from a player that didn't play, or just if there was an aspect of their game that they didn't show much of, leaning on much of, outside of Jeremiah Love against Miami, that could be beneficial against A&M, where would that be? What might that be for this Notre Dame team this weekend?
I think that, the vertical passing game, they only threw, the deep shot to Malachi Fields was really more of a jump ball. The Virginia transfer that they got, I think Fields has a chance to be really good here. I mean, defensively, I'm not sure there wasn't a whole lot that didn't show that they could change up. Like, did they bring a lot of exotic pressures? Not really. They tried to play a little bit more zone than they did last year. But I would say, like, if there's something you're asking, like, what did they not show in week 1 that they could show against A&M? I think it's just pushing the ball vertically. I mean, Jaden Greathouse had 0 catches in the game and only, I think, 2 or 3 targets. Like, against Penn State and Ohio State, he was awesome. So it's hard to imagine that's going to repeat itself against A&M.
Yeah. Outside of the final outcome, you think Marcus felt pretty good about what he got from his team in that setting? I mean, you got a new quarterback, obviously a little familiarity with the stadium because you were there towards the end of last season. But all in all, do you think he liked what he had week 1 coming out of that game, even though it didn't go their way in the win column?
I think would he ever admit it? No.
Right.
But privately, yeah. I mean, it's like you had a first-time starting quarterback. Your offensive line played awful. Your defense had a few communications issues with the new coordinator, and you ended up losing by 3 points to a top 10 team on the road at a place where you haven't won since 1977. Like, it's not the end of the world to go down there and lose. It does make the pressure on the A&M game much more significant, but I think Notre Dame comes out thinking like, all right, we made the right choice at quarterback. We know our offensive line is going to be better. We're not going to make that mistake with Jeremiah Love again. Like, let's roll moving forward. So I think overall they feel pretty good about where they are, a big picture, and then obviously you can lean on them in the past couple of weeks from like, hey, let's not repeat what we did at Miami. So you kind of motivate them that way too. Absolutely.
Pete, great stuff, man. Appreciate the time. I'm excited to watch this one. I think because there are some of those unknowns, really for both these teams still. Whatever does show up that we might not be expecting, be it formations, pressures, different personnel groupings, different players, might end up being the difference. But it's going to be fun to watch. Thanks for the time today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Cole.
There you go. Pete Sampson covers Notre Dame for The Athletic, joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services. So Pete Sampson giving you a little thought on Notre Dame, kind of where they are heading into this weekend against Texas A&M. Have you removed them as a national championship contender? Is Miami now in as a national championship contender? I don't think a lot of folks would have had the Hurricanes there before the season. I think they were kind of on the outside looking in, knocking on the door, maybe on the doorstep of teams that could go win a national title. I think going into the season, there were teams that we thought could win a national championship, and there were teams we thought could get to the playoff. And now I do think the order of that has changed. Some have been added, subtracted maybe. Is Clemson still a team that people think can get to the playoff? In that conference, do you think they still have the advantages and they'll be able to win the ACC and find their way in, similar to last year? Good chance. South Florida probably now in the playoff conversation. But they got Miami this weekend, so we'll find out maybe more about both those teams. That'll give us more answers on those after this weekend. See what they're about. See what they can do. See what they're going to be. Iowa State's still not being talked about by anybody at all. sitting there at 3-0 with wins over Kansas State, South Dakota, and Iowa. Now, is the offense super high-powered? No. Got great quarterback play. You got a team that finds ways to win. You'll be at Colorado. They got BYU, Arizona State, Kansas, at TCU. I mean, I think now we can look at Oklahoma State and say that's not going to be one where you get a lot of credit after what happened against Oregon. Where's Oregon now? Are they in that top tier of, yes, definitive teams that can win a national championship? Hard to say no. With Oregon at 2-0, 59-13, 69-3 over Montana State and Oklahoma State. Oregon looks pretty good. There's a lot to like about Oregon. I think the offensive line technically, fundamentally might be a little better than last year. Might end up being. Hard to say through 2 games. We told you about Isaiah Worlds, who was transferred in from Nevada. Big-time tackle who has lived up to the billing so far. Is Texas out of that picture? Is Texas even a playoff team in a lot of people's minds right now? Don't make any mistake about it. Texas still got juice now. They got guys. They got talent. They can run. They have athleticism. It might not have been as clean as a lot of people want it to be or as crisp as a lot of people want it to be, but they get a couple things figured out. They got the horses. But LSU and Nussmeier are that weird one, still sitting there. What's holding people back from LSU? Why is they're number 3 in the AP poll, but it feels like the general public's not really there yet on LSU. Is it because of what happened with Clemson against Troy? Is it what happened with LSU against Louisiana Tech, 23-7? And people are looking at that one saying, nah. I mean, it wasn't super clean. They still don't hand the ball off a whole lot. Nussmeier is not going to be able to take the hits he's taken. But you also gave up 50 passing yards to their starting quarterback. Like, the defense looks like it's real. Really real. They got guys that were bought in on that defense that are doing things in an unselfish manner, yet a physical manner, a violent manner that allows the players around them to be successful. You love seeing that. I mean, that's when things start to really ramp up and pick up. So I just think it's intriguing to look at. You can chime in, 800-239-9569, 800-239-WJOX, text in 205-834-9450. How many teams out there after 2 weeks do you say, yeah, I think they can go win a national championship? And I'm not talking get to the playoffs. They can go win it. Ohio State's probably there. Penn State probably needs to be there. Oregon needs to be there. Miami probably there. Is Florida State a team that we think can win a national championship? It's easy to sit there and say it's too easy to tell. It's probably too easy to tell on all these teams. But we're having the conversation anyway. I don't know if Illinois is there yet. I don't think South Carolina can be there just yet. I think Oklahoma may have moved into that category. You don't have to like it. Some people are going to push back on it. I get it. There's real reason to push back on it. But I think Oklahoma, for me, may have not just been on the doorstep. They were on the sidewalk. They moved to the patio, and then now I think they might be in the room of teams that can win a national title. Because you got to take over quarterback. This dynamic. The run game has not been what it needs to be. But they're going to be able to extend the run game, 1, with the QB, and 2, with quick throws. And they have multiple dynamic weapons on the perimeter that can take a tunnel screen and go 80 on any play. And they've got just some little pieces that they've added, doing some like this Jared Canick kick who played linebacker last year, playing like this hybrid tight end, one-handed catches down the seam, helping block a little bit. He's not overpowering anybody, that's for sure. But he's in the mix there. But if you took the AP poll and you looked at the top 10, I don't know if half of them people would look at and say, I will stamp this right now, I believe they can win a national title. Ohio State, yes. Penn State, yes. I just said LSU's got questions. Oregon, yes. Let's say we go Miami, yes. All right, there's 4. Texas, have people thrown them out from that category? Playoff, I think people still be on board with. Title, meh. Notre Dame, Illinois, Florida State. Do we get to half? Because I don't think there's a ton of teams after that people are pounding the table for to say can win a national championship today. And all in all, this could make it great because a couple of these teams that are close are going to play the teams that we think can. And a couple of these teams that can still have aspects of their teams that make us say, do not think that that's possible. And then you have your Tennessees, your A&Ms, your Iowa States. You have an Ole Miss, a Utah. Alabama may be back in that mix now. Where's Auburn, Missouri in all this? Are they even in the playoff conversation for folks yet? Now, people are going to look at Missouri and say, well, they have the path. Well, we're talking about the team. It's not like Missouri's got this cakewalk. They got Louisiana this week and then South Carolina. They still got Alabama. They're at Auburn. They're at Vandy. We just told you about all the things that Vandy's improved. By the way, they're at Oklahoma, at Arkansas to close it out. You could be playing two of the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the league the last 2 games of the season. And they don't have a lot of depth. Those teams that they're playing don't either. But Mississippi State doesn't look like they're a throwaway team on everybody's schedule now. They've upgraded the line of scrimmage a little bit, playing a little bit different. They got weapons. If Shapen's healthy, they're a dangerous team. So even that Missouri path of, look, pave the way to 9 wins. Doesn't look that easy anymore. Vandy's not an easy out. Auburn's not an easy out. Bama's not gone. Oklahoma's tough. Arkansas, you're have to deal with an offense that can score. Mississippi State could be dangerous. This is going to be a fun year. We'll continue talking about it next right here on Jocks. One of those teams that has moved into maybe a different neighborhood than they were in the preseason would be the Tennessee Volunteers for a couple of different reasons. We'll discuss them with their new play-by-play voice, Mike Keith, here in just a moment. 8:20 Wednesday, September 10th on Jocks. Before we do that, I got to tell you about Gusty Goulas and the Gusty Goulas Group. If you're looking to get into a new home here in Birmingham, call 205-542-1996. Gusty Goulas Group, brokered by eXp Realty. Over 850 five-star Google reviews. Just search Gusty Goulas Group. You'll see what people are saying. Or go to GustyGoulsGroup.com today. Button at the top right-hand corner of your page. You smash that button, very little information. They're going to tell you what you think your house is worth and what they can go get for it. Served over 3,000 home buyers and sellers in the greater Birmingham area, investing thousands in the latest tools, social media, photographers, and more to help you get the most for your home. And with all of those buyers that they've served, they know what real estate's coming available before it's on the market. Call 205-542-1996 today or go to GustyGoulsGroup.com and start packing. Mike Keith, voice of the Vols, joining us now on the Higginbotham Hotline. And, Mike, I thought the big question of the year for everybody was going to be Joey Aguilar coming in. He had experience, but the part that maybe a lot of folks missed the boat on was what Tennessee added up front. And Moy and Pendleton have been outstanding, and they have kept that offensive line from facing a severe drop-off based on what they lost last year. Probably should have taken a big step backwards. But these two have been great, and I think that has been the most pleasant surprise about what Tennessee's put on the field this year, not necessarily Joey Aguilar.
You would agree with my broadcast partner, Ramon Foster, then, wouldn't you? It's that O-line synergy that you have, because I think he's very pleased with all of it too, Cole. A couple things about that. First of all, this is a different Lance Hurd at left tackle. This is a healthy, in-shape, stronger Lance Hurd, who's giving them something at left tackle that he wasn't able to give a year ago. You've gotten a couple of players so far who've been developed within the program, Jesse Perry for one and Sham Umarov for another, and they have played good football so far. Pendleton and Moy have just been outstanding. Pendleton thought he might be a guard. He's playing center. Moy didn't give up a sack last year at Arizona. He's come in and done the exact same thing. We haven't even seen David Sanders yet, the freshman out of Charlotte, who was the five-star prospect, who has blown people away here since he's been on campus over the last 8 months. So I think some of it is some synergy within what they're doing. Some of it is just these guys are better. I think there's more talent. And I think the other part of it, too, which has really helped out, is they're bigger. This is a bigger offensive line, in particular in the middle three. And I think that's something that Tennessee has been able to take advantage of to this point, and we'll see if they can continue to take advantage of that as they get into conference play, and the challenges certainly get greater, especially this week against Georgia.
The other thing that I like, Mike, and we visited with Josh and his staff going into last season, and that offseason emphasis was physicality, getting bigger, winning games different ways, essentially saying, hey, we understand that there are going to be some people that can match up with our offense is best at. We need to have a counterpunch. And they've carried that over into this year. I mean, Kitzelman and these tight ends are doing a great job as well. They're not getting away from the downhill run game. And I know people will say, well, Josh has always run the ball, but they always haven't run the ball the way that they are this year. And for me, that shows dedication to it, that you just didn't go into one season and say, oh, let's try to do this year. You're making that a big portion of who you are annually inside your program. And I think it's cool, Mike, to just be able to see them continue it from last year into this year, even with some massive losses that they had.
You're right, Cole. And to me, what it shows about Josh Heupel is that he has an understanding of what the Southeastern Conference is. And when we strip it all down, the best teams in the Southeastern Conference are physical. And I think there's always been a feeling, because he's gone fast at Central Florida and he's gone fast at Tennessee, that this was a bit of a gimmick offense, or, you know, they threw 85 times a game. And you're right. That's always been something that has been completely misinterpreted by people from the outside. You know, Tennessee ran for more yards last year than they passed for, and they rushed for over 11,000 yards in the first 4 years of the Josh Heupel era. But what you're touching on is very important. they want to get more physical. Their backs are bigger and stronger. Their offensive linemen are bigger and stronger. They get it that at a certain point in this league, you've got to be able to line it up and get your nose bloody and get your hand in the dirt and get after it. And I think that's the development of the program in year 5 under Josh Heupel that is different than it was when he got started. Cole, he just had to take what he had and go when he got here. And fortunately, he had Hendon Hooker and he had some receivers and, some things worked out. But for the long term of this program, developing yourself to be able to take people on physically is a big part of where you have to get if you're going to compete at the upper end of this conference year in and year out.
Absolutely. Visiting with Mike Keith, voice of the Vols, joining us on the Higginbotham hotline. Let's go to the other side of the ball. I feel like the D-line's picked up right where they left off. Not as deep, but you're seeing some new faces begin to emerge a little bit. Corner's a problem right now with your top 2 out. Just kind of take us inside the depth chart of where the Vols are going to be up against Georgia this weekend.
Well, Jermod McCoy is a really super player. We know he's a preseason All-America selection. He's not playing right now because he's still coming back from the leg injury. And I think he'll get started later this month. It may be next month, and they'll be glad to have him. Ricky Gibson is a guy who was vastly improved from year 2 to year 3 because he had gotten bigger. And he's a true outside long cover corner that they've recruited into this program. And now he's out for a length of time. So you understand that you're going to need Colton Hood, who you brought in, former Auburn player, who you brought in from Colorado. He's got to step up. So far, he's been super. And then a freshman out of the Atlanta area by the name of Ty Redmond, who's 6'2", about 195 pounds, is another really long player. He's done an outstanding job so far. Again, the challenge for Tennessee this weekend is they're getting ready to see a group of receivers that they haven't seen yet. And so while the 2 corners have held up well to this point, that's something that they're going to have to transition toward and be better. They don't have a lot of depth there. And the thing we're also watching here too, Cole, is interested to see, is this the week Boo Carter steps back in as the nickel in this defense full time? If he's earned that, and if that happens, that would allow Jalen McMurray to become one of the backups at corner, which would be a huge help to Tim Banks and the defensive staff. But yes, Tennessee is in a situation at corner right now that they feel good about who they're going to play, but they don't have a lot of depth at this moment.
Who's kind of sitting there next for this Tennessee defense? And that doesn't just have to be corner. You gave us a couple of guys that are going to play, a couple of guys that are going to be involved. But who are some of the guys that maybe have gotten a couple reps, couple snaps that this coaching staff's looking at saying, they're going to be a guy we lean on. They're going to be a guy that makes plays. They're going to be a guy who helps us for the rest of this year.
Edwin Spillman from Nashville, Tennessee, from Lipscomb Academy. He is a linebacker. Arion Carter is the leader of the defense. He's an all-conference linebacker. Jeremiah T. Lander is another player who plays a ton of football because he's really good at what he does. He's athletic. He makes things happen. Spillman is the third guy technically in that lineup, but the reality of it is that Spillman's going to play all over the place in certain situations, and there's an explosiveness to him that is just natural. Some guys hit harder. Who knows why, right? I mean, is it because their legs are stronger? Is it because they never hesitate? I have no idea. This guy comes with a force and has a great first step on a blitz package, getting guys down the field. I think Edwin Spillman is the guy you're talking about who has the potential to be a difference maker in this defense. And this is an area where Tennessee needs to take a step forward. They need more takeaways. And in a game against the Georgia Bulldogs, they really need more takeaways. I don't know if you realize this, but Tennessee has not sacked Georgia's starting quarterback in the last 3 meetings between these teams. And you're not going to have a chance to win the ball game if you're not getting to Gunnar Stockton. And do you do it with the defensive line? Sure. Do you do it with the outside linebackers who are also kind of the rush defensive ends? Of course. But you also need other players to make big things happen. And a Carter, a Spillman, talking about Arion Carter, Boo Carter, but those guys can make things happen in this game. And keep your eye on number 13 on defense.
I don't think there's any doubt. Joey Aguilar, the thing that I heard coming into the season that was going to be a problem for him, Mike, was some of the quick throws, some of the intermediate throws, and he didn't have the accuracy on those. He couldn't alter the velocity on those. It needed to be accurate for the catch and run, and he might not be able to provide that. I feel like he's been exceptional with those type of throws specifically. We knew he could throw the deep ball. What's the coaching staff maybe been pleasantly surprised with that they've gotten out of Joey so far?
That he just continues to get better in this system, Cole, that he takes every day and really doesn't take a day off, because there's a level of understanding in him that he still has so much to learn and so far to go. He gets it. And when I first met him this summer, that was the thing that really struck me, is he totally understood what this challenge was. Being the face of the program as the quarterback, he certainly got that. He understood that, he was going to have to win the job because of how Nico Iamaleava departed. They wanted to have a real quarterback competition. They did. He won the job. He got better in every scrimmage. He's been better in practice since he was named the starter. There's a different feel to him. I think that's probably the most exciting thing about him so far, is with his veteran presence, he doesn't try to do more than he's capable of doing. He is very athletic, and he's really excited to play for Josh Heupel and Joey Halsley and everybody in this offensive system, because he knows this is a system that has utilized quarterbacks well, and he's trying to learn it, play within it, and do what he needs to do. And he got better from game 1 to game 2. He'll have to be really good against the Georgia team that's going to be flying around. I tell you who else has to be good too. The guys in the wide receiver core, they've got to win.
Yeah.
Tennessee, in the last 3 matchups, Tennessee does not have a touchdown pass, and their yards per attempt is just 6.1. They've got to go win. And, Georgia wants to beat you up. The quarterback has to play well, but the receivers have to get open and make some things happen. And that's a real key in this ball game for everybody associated with the passing game at Tennessee.
What do you look at as the key for this game to go the Vols' way this weekend?
I think it comes if all things are equal. And last year, I thought Tennessee hit Georgia the way Georgia hits you. Several people have said it was one of the hardest hitting games they saw all of last year. So I don't think there's any problem matching the intensity. I think Tennessee has the physical people to be able to match Georgia's athletes, which they probably could in the first couple years. I think it comes down to big plays. Tennessee has not made big plays in this game outside of the one Jalen Wright run to start the 2023 game. And then Tennessee didn't do anything else the rest of the day. I think the overall bottom line is the Vols have to make some big plays in this game. Boo Carter had a 26-yard punt return last year, got tackled by the punter. If he scores there, Cole, it's 14-0 instead of 10-0. Those are the plays the Vols have to finish. Got to sack the quarterback, need takeaways, but they've got to make some big plays against the Georgia Bulldogs, because Georgia, in my mind, it's hard to beat Georgia going punch for punch. I don't know that anybody in the country is going to beat Georgia if you're just going punch for punch. They're well coached, they have a lot of talent, and they have a lot of belief. You're going to have to go beat them, and that takes big plays.
Absolutely. I want to end with this, Mike, just this challenge for you, this change for you. How's it been? How have you described it through 2 weeks?
It's everything I thought it would be. And this weekend is the reason that I was so excited about this opportunity. I mean, there's nothing like the SEC. I grew up not just around Tennessee, but being a huge Southeastern Conference fan. Watching the big matchups, we would, if Tennessee played in the afternoon, man, we were in front of the TV on Saturday night watching an Alabama LSU or an Auburn Georgia or whoever was playing, because you live for these matchups where the stadium's full and everybody talks about it all week long. Went in to get coffee this morning and they're buzzing about it on Wednesday. That's what you love. The passion of the SEC, the fact that people understand that it's not just a sport, it's part of our culture, it's what we do, it's what I was raised with. And the first home game was special. I can't even begin to imagine what this Saturday is going to be like in terms of atmosphere.
It's going to be awesome. It's going to be rocking, and I know you'll enjoy it. Mike, we appreciate the time. Happy for you. It's been cool just to hear. I hadn't caught any of the games live on the radio, but hearing some of your clips has been cool to hear. It's a great fit, and we're excited for you, and hopefully we can have you back soon.
Anytime, Cole. Thanks for having me.
There you go. Mike Keith, voice of the Vols, joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline, talking Tennessee, Georgia, coming up this weekend. What are we looking for in that specific matchup? We'll discuss it after this on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. No Greg today. He'll be back Friday as we continue talking college football coming up this weekend. Quickly wanted to run through a couple of the games from last weekend that we just kind of hadn't gotten to yet. Missouri, Kansas was one we didn't spend a lot of time on. It's a really nice win by Mizzou. Rivalry game. Means a lot. One that's huge for a lot of different reasons. Bo Perbula, 30 of 39, 334, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He did run 9 times for just 6 yards, but I thought he avoided catastrophe a couple of times in the pocket, being able to move. Kevin Coleman, the Mississippi State transfer at receiver, great for Mizzou, 10 for 126. Brett Norfleet, not just in there blocking a tight end, 7 for 76 and 2 touchdowns. He was fantastic. Jamal Roberts and Ahmad Hardy both go for over 100 yards rushing. I love this offense right now. I think the O-line's still kind of coming along, growing, but you got Norfleet up there to be able to help with that. Prbula has been decisive. He has been deliberate with his decisions, and I think that's the main thing you want to see. He's throwing good touch down the field, and he can be a physical runner, and he can be a runner, I think, that can kind of hurt you when leaving the pocket out on the perimeter. So the biggest takeaway for me with Missouri watching him in this game was how aggressive the defense plays. Jalen Catalon's playing good football. Yes, that Jalen Catalon. Arkansas, Texas, UNLV, he's helping them. And can he stay healthy? We'll see. Marvin Burks plays like the Tasmanian devil. You got Josiah Trotter coming playing downhill. They are super athletic on the edges. Super athletic up front on the edge. Not super heavy, but very athletic. We knew when Damon Wilson came in that they were going to have a little bit more out on the edges, but it's not just him. They got some dudes that play on the edge of that defense that can rip. And I just like the way the defense plays. They play with a mat on. And 42-31, that's a massive win for Drink. And like I said, the schedule doesn't look quite as light maybe now as we thought it was going to at the beginning of the season for Missouri. But that was one that we didn't spend a ton of time on. And I love Ahmad Hardy. I love the run game. The offensive line's not great just yet, but it's going to get there. They're kind of coming along. And you got multiple receivers. Drink tried to tell us at media days, receivers are going to be better than we thought. The LSU La Tech game's the one we hadn't spent time on either. 23-7 LSU. The defense was great. This is a bunch of kamikaze pilots on defense, man. Like both Weeks brothers, well, just see something, get something. It doesn't matter if it's an offensive lineman, if it's the football, if it's a quarterback, if it's a puller. They're trying to hurt somebody on every play. I love it. And as I stated after watching them week 1, Jack Pyburn's a perfect fit for this defense. They're letting Patrick Payton do some things out wide. He's helping some. Secondary's got some length now. Harold Perkins seems like he's getting comfortable in his role. The middle of that defense, though, I would say has exceeded expectations. With Ahmad Bro, Jacoby and Guillory, a couple of guys. Bernard Gooden, somebody that I didn't think was going to add what he's added so far. If the middle of that defense stays healthy, keeps playing the way that they are, it's going to be tough sledding against LSU's defense. Now, the offense, they still don't like to hand it off. Protection's still going to be a problem, and don't know exactly what that's going to look like moving forward. Georgia and Austin Peay 28-6. Georgia fans are mad. I get it. There hadn't been a ton down the field. Number one, as Greg and I talked about yesterday, you're running this pull protection too much, and it's allowing leakage. Guys be able to get through. The one-on-one pass pro hasn't been super clean. Hasn't been where it needs to be. Hasn't been great. So that's been another problem. But the quick throws, the screens, quick game has been probably the majority of the offense. You're putting the ball on the ground too much. And the quarterback's just got to get a little bit more time, a little bit more confidence to push the ball down the field. It's going to have to happen against this group because you got to take advantage of the corner situation. You have to. But be careful. That Tennessee front can get to you now. Tennessee's front can get to the quarterback. That's going to happen. So I didn't come out of this game in panic mode like a lot of Georgia fans did. I understand. We're going to talk to Aaron Murray about it at the top of the hour. He was also on the Auburn game, so we'll get his thoughts on Jackson Arnold, that group. We went through Texas A&M just a little bit earlier, kind of some of the things we saw there that we didn't like. Tennessee, physicality up front on offense. I love where it is. 2 big additions on the offensive line. Mike Keith's right about Lance Hurd. He played well in this game. We didn't learn a ton, 72-17, but, hey, it was – did what you did. Taylor Green, Arkansas, 56-14 over Arkansas State. Take care of the football. That's the main thing. You don't have to do all of it. You don't have to do every single bit of it. And Vandy, 44-20 over Virginia Tech. We talked a little bit about that one. Like I said, Vandy has more physicality on the O-line with athleticism that I've seen in a long time. It's not technically the best you're going to see. It just isn't. But we'll take some of those games and then roll them into what we think it's going to mean with some of the matchups this weekend. And we'll visit with Aaron Murray at the top of the hour. All that coming up next right here on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, Wednesday, September 10th, 8:48, right here on Jocks. We've talked potential national championship contenders. Who has maybe moved into that neighborhood, who's out of that neighborhood? 800-239-9569, 800-239-WJOX. The quarterbacks that we are getting the most of in response to best quarterback in the SEC question right now, Bo Pabula, John Mateer, and Joey Aguilar. A little bit of Nuss. People still holding on there. We got a little bit of Diego Pavia. Is there anybody we're missing? One or two for Taylor Green, and that's about it.
Interesting that, granted, maybe because of performance or lack of, but I mean, Lenore Sellers is still out there. No one's mentioned him. Maybe because he hasn't shown it yet, but we also, if we'd asked at the beginning of the season, Lenore's would have been top 5. No one's mentioned him yet at all.
I think, is it surprising that there has not been a single response for Arch Manning? Just basing on what you just said about the preseason.
September 10th? No.
Yeah, preseason people would have.
August 31st, yeah, they'd have burned us alive.
Preseason, he would have had a couple of votes for that easily.
Probably like that Haley person.
Here's the thing with Lenore Sellers. I don't know what he has done necessarily to play his way out of this conversation. I mean, he has 337 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks through 2 games. On the ground, he's got 21 carries, 48 yards, and a touchdown. I know those aren't spectacular numbers, but it's not a bunch of turnovers, and it's not a couple losses. So I get it that the other numbers are a little bit better than his, but it doesn't feel like he's done anything to take himself out of that conversation completely.
But as we said before, numbers ain't everything because, again, we'd be looking at Taylor Green solely.
Does he get more credit if Virginia Tech beats Vanderbilt?
I don't think people remember that South Carolina beat Virginia Tech.
Wow, it's been 1 week.
Yeah. And they lost worse.
These weeks are long.
Yeah.
A lot of games. We forget games that happened 7 days ago. Okay. If you went to national championship odds, John, who would you think right now has the best odds to win the national championship in Vegas?
Ohio State.
It is Ohio State at plus 525. Maybe the bigger surprise would be that Georgia's plus 600.
I thought they'd be top 5, but it's very surprising they're right there.
Yeah, tied with Penn State for second best odds. And this feels like one of those Vegas moves of like, we know we're going to get your money.
Yeah.
Texas comes in next at plus 700. Again, I'm not saying they can't. I'm not saying it's impossible. But that one doesn't feel likely right now. Like if I said you get a pick right now for the national champion, you taking Oregon or Texas?
Yeah, that's Oregon.
You taking LSU or Texas?
That's LSU.
You taking Bama or Texas? Toss up. You taking Notre Dame or Texas?
I think I take Notre Dame. I thought they looked better even in the loss.
Are you taking any of Miami, A&M, or Ole Miss over Texas?
Might take Texas over Ole Miss.
That would be the only of those that
Maybe.
I would take. Yeah. I think Texas and Texas A&M right now would be kind of like,
they're even,
okay.
Yeah.
Miami, I would take over Texas right now, for
Yeah.
sure. You can get Miami at plus 2,500 right now. That
feels like a steal.
It's good odds. If you can get it,
Yeah.
you take it. And we're going to find out a lot this weekend. Notre Dame and Texas A&M this weekend is going to be fantastic. I think we continue to learn a little bit more about Alabama against Wisconsin. Saturday morning, 11 a.m. ABC. It's going to be hot. That could be a big advantage for Bama in that game. Arkansas Ole Miss feels dangerous because of the Austin Simmons ankle. We don't know exactly where he's going to be. The ability of Taylor Green to take over, do some different things. And that game's just been bonkers every year, like every single year. But a lot of people are on the bandwagon right now. Arkansas over Ole Miss, taking that upset. Ole Miss 6.5-point favorite. I could see it. It's a tricky defense. Travis is going to have some new wrinkle. He's got hybrid players that he can play. Xavier Sori can friggin' run. You don't have to have the big bully D tackles to be successful against Ole Miss. They're going to try to run the football, but it's almost more speed, athleticism to be able to make up ground for being spread out. And if you look what Ole Miss did against Kentucky last week, they used the tight end and they used their splits to find different ways to run the football and find different ways to get the ball to tight end. So compressed splits from the receivers, and then they started to crack, and then that opened up the perimeter run game. I will say this, the Arkansas defense can be able to run with Ole Miss. But the Ole Miss receivers can make plays. Arkansas has got to find ways to get to whoever's playing quarterback for Ole Miss. If it's Austin Simmons, they got to get to him. And the other two teams they've played have done that. So I would imagine Arkansas is going to be able to do that. And then Taylor Green, can that O-line hold up for Arkansas to be able to allow him enough time to kind of work his magic? I think 6 p.m. in the Grove, it's going to be a great atmosphere. That'll be a fun one. Florida at LSU. People are now saying, can Florida pull this one off? I'm just going to let you guys know right now, the film is not as bad as you think of Florida. It is not this disgusting performance. is just mistake riddled. Penalties, bad snaps. Now, there were some play calls that were a little questionable at different points in time in the game. Like Billy maybe got a little cute. He'd probably like to have back. But let's also keep in mind, LSU's one-dimensional right now. There's a one-dimensional football team. Caleb Banks, keep your eyes on here. If he's healthy, if he can go and he's good, he could be a big problem for LSU. A big problem. Florida secondary, don't know if I have enough proof there that I feel like you can hold up. A&M Notre Dame, though, should be a bloodbath. This should be, but we've talked about where A&M's been going on offense. Are they going to allow it to be? Or do they want to spread this game out, open this game up? The A&M receivers against the Notre Dame corners are going to be a fascinating watch. And you guys know, I don't point you that direction very often. Because the line of scrimmage is going to be great too. But I think A&M may have some advantages up front against the Notre Dame offensive line that we thought was going to be really good. Wasn't great week one, a little dinged. We'll see how that looks in their second game against Texas A&M. And then Vandy, South Carolina, 6:45 on the SEC Network should be a ton of fun. I think that game's going to be awesome. What the expletive plays does Diego Pavia either get away with, or does he attempt to make that cost his team field position, possession, or points? Ultimately, I think that's it. Probably which quarterback makes the fewest mistakes and then makes a couple more plays, finds a way to win that game. Aaron Murray breaks down Auburn and Georgia next. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. It is 9 o'clock, Wednesday, September the 10th. Right here on Jocks. Listen online, jocksfm.com. The app is in your app store, iPhone, Android. Download that for free. You can listen on the go. You can find podcasts of interviews, of full hours of entire shows. Also direct you to the YouTube page. Search Jocks945. You can watch the show live or watch back on YouTube every single day. GMAC out today. Be back on Friday. We're going to get to Aaron Murray here in just a moment and discuss the game that he was on last week and then his alma mater's game coming up this week. First, I'll tell you about Game Day Men's Health. If you're feeling on edge, if you're lacking sleep, lacking energy, Game Day Men's Health wants to help you. There's a couple of ways they can do it, but it's easy. Go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com right now. Sign up for the free consultation, free PSA test, free testosterone test. They give you a baseline of your health, exactly where you are. You go in for that consultation. They're going to give you different programs that they have that they feel like can help you. Testosterone replacement, peptides, weight loss programs, all right there in the shop, and they've got great people that are not going to try to push you into things that you don't need. Minimal upfront costs in the programs they offer at Game Day Men's Health. Go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com today. Sign up for the free consultation. Why not? Go feel better. Let them help you, and mention Mac and Cube in the morning and save 10% on any service they offer. And don't forget, the office in Trustville is open now. All right, Aaron Murray joining us on the Higginbotham hotline. Aaron, let's start with your game last week. I know the level of opponent wasn't great, but I'm just interested from you, kind of your takeaways from the Auburn offense, what you saw, what you liked, what concerns you moving forward with that system and the personnel that they have running it.
To be honest, Cole, there's not a lot that I'm too stressed about. I walked away really impressed with Auburn. Went into the season, and obviously a lot of Georgia fans asking, where is Georgia going to stumble this year? Is it Texas? Is it Alabama? Is it Ole Miss? I'm circling that game there at Auburn and Jordan-Hare Stadium as kind of one you need to watch out for because of the talent that's returning on both sides of the football. And, I remember last year early on the season watching Jackson Arnold, and I liked what I saw. And the young man was put in a really bad situation with the offensive line and the receivers of just not really being obviously healthy or up to par to what he could do. And, as a quarterback, you kind of get into a funk. I remember, my senior year, we had, Keith Marshall tears his ACL, Malcolm Mitchell tears his ACL, Michael Bennett tears his ACL, Todd's injured, for a good majority of the season. At one point, I remember in the Tennessee game in the fourth quarter, I look in the huddle and I got a walk-on receiver that I've never thrown a pass to before. And we're down and having to drive the length of the field to score to put the game in overtime. And he's shaking in the huddle. And I'm like, this is not going to go well at all. Zero confidence. We found a way to make it happen. But, it's not easy when you build chemistry all off season to then put in a situation where you're kind of under the fire a little bit. I felt like that was him last year. So, they had to figure out a way to build his confidence. That's something that Hugh talked to us about building his confidence this off season because obviously the skill set was there. And I thought he's looked really good the first two games. He's fast, he's athletic, he's decisive. I think he's throwing the ball really well. And they just got so much talent, Cole. It's for me, I said after the first game versus Baylor, you put on tape the ability to run the football behind a top five, if not even better, offensive line in the SEC, because there's been some really bad offensive line play to start the season. With those running backs and him, knowing the fact that you got Singleton, who can run the ball as well, Simmons, Cam Coleman, Horatio is making plays for the first two games of the season. Massive first down catch against Baylor a couple weeks ago. This is a great offense. I love the offense. I think Jackson's going to continue to get better and better and thrive. And then defensively, they're fast, man. They're fast. They're physical. They run around. Obviously, they're very young in the middle. Whether it's linebackers and safeties, but they play with their hair on fire. So I was, like I said, really impressed with the way they came out there and competed last week. And I think, they're now in contention for me, not only based on the way they played, but obviously, too, the way that some other top-tier teams have played this season. They should definitely be in the conversation to making it to Atlanta.
The part about John Mateer's game that hit me the hardest last year, Aaron, was, and Aaron Murray, of ESPN, the SEC Network, joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline, he couldn't let go of the football. And you laid out, there's a myriad of reasons, we know that. But where have you seen maybe the biggest growth or the biggest part of his game that sort of couldn't happen or wasn't happening last year that you are seeing take place for him this year?
I think getting it out of his hands. I think he's throwing it with more anticipation. That'll only get better, but it's part of the offense too. I mean, you're seeing, you know, Hugh put him in a situation where he feels comfortable, and a lot of times for mobile quarterbacks, you get comfortable when you start running the football. You know, something I was talking to my boy Eric McLean about with just Clemson and their quarterback Cade Klubnik. I was like, man, you got an athletic quarterback that's struggling a little bit right now. And you look at the stats, and he's -3 yards rushing this season. And obviously, you know, stats take a big toll on that. But man, like, can you find a way to get him going and just build his confidence? And then, you know, as you know, and we all know, once a quarterback starts running, then there's a hesitation from the defensive line. Can I rush? Can I not rush? So you start to build confidence as a quarterback that, hey, I can play in rhythm, play on time, let it rip. You know, obviously we did see a couple times last week. It was one drive where I believe it was Chaplin on the outside, let up a couple pressures on the left tackle spot that just can't get, you know, you just can't let that happen. But I just think right now he's playing because of the first game where he was able to run the football, get the ball out of his hands quickly. You see a guy playing with confidence and play within the system. I think that's a big thing too. When things are going wrong, Cole, as a quarterback, you start trying to manufacture plays. Another good example of this, Carson Beck a year ago. Things aren't going great. Run game's inconsistent. Offensive line's inconsistent. Receivers are dropping, feels like every other pass. So he feels like he has to be Superman. And he starts trying to fit balls in windows that Josh Allen couldn't even fit balls into. And he gets in trouble and ends up having, you know, in his standard, an average season. I think you saw in this past game a team that played a lot of quarters in Ball State. And when I see quarters as a quarterback, I'm like, let's throw double posts. Let's throw deep crosses. Let's go for the big plays. And you saw a very patient Hugh, and you saw a very patient Jackson Arnold. So I think to me that's something that you saw improvement from a year ago to this year of understanding. I want to throw the post route. I want to be able to hit the big balls. I want to be able to push the ball vertically down the field. But right now these corners are 10 yards off. Let me throw an out route. Let me throw a hitch. And you saw it over and over again last week. Take completion, take completion, take completion, take completion, and even go back to the first game. You know what? They're going to play too high. We'll just continue to run the football, run the football, run the football. So I think maturity from the head coach, honestly, too, and then maturity from Jackson Arnold of just knowing the position he's in and taking what the defense gives him.
Yeah, that's a great point. What about that defense for Auburn? Just anything sticks out? I know a couple of new formations that DJ Durkin put in last week.
Yep.
Not going to learn a ton about the actual opponent and what they're doing, but what parts of it do you like? What parts of it do you project forward and say this is what they're going to be able to lean on when they get into SEC play?
Well, I like the front, you know, from Falk and Crawford on the outsides. They really like their corners. They feel like they have 4 corners that could all start from Schrader and Crawford and Lee. And obviously Pleasant is just such an athlete out there. And we know how dangerous he is on the field and obviously at the special teams position as well. You know, a little hesitation with just the youth at the linebacker spot, but I thought those guys fly around. You know, they're coming. They'll be put in some situations where obviously they're going to be able to pressure the quarterback. You saw Woodyard, you know, moving around a bunch in that first game against Baylor, get him on the edge, blitz him up the middle. So I think all those guys can run up front. And they feel like they've built some depth, going back to the defensive line, Cole. They feel like they've built depth, which in today's world it's hard to do because offensive linemen and defensive linemen are very expensive in the portal. They're a premium because you can't find a bunch of guys that are over 300 pounds that can move and be able to be disruptors up front on both the O-line and D-line. But I feel like they've been able to retain guys and build that depth just through recruiting-wise. And they love some of the freshmen as well. You saw Darian Smith, his ability in that first game, more of a pass rusher. Obviously, he's got to continue to mature in the run game, but be able to bring him in situations on third down or late in games, 2-minute drives, where it's like, dude, see ball, get ball. See quarterback, go get quarterback. So they really like 44. They love Fagans on the outside at the safety position. They really feel like he can cover some ground, number 21. And then you'll see some star. You saw Woodby. So, you know, I thought it was a great game where they talked a lot about these freshmen. And then we got to see him play in the last game. And I thought they looked good, especially Darian Smith through the first 2 games of the season where you think that he could be someone that you can rely on specialty downs. So, you know, like I said at the beginning, I think they're very solid on all 3 levels. I think that DJ Durkin is going to continue to mix things up between 4 down and 3 down. And hell, they had a couple times that first game where they got down to like the six-man look where both linebackers on the edges to bring some pressure and create some one-on-one matchups. So overall, there's just, not trying to be someone in the moment that I just covered Auburn and was there, and everyone's feeling hunky-dory because they just beat Baylor on the road, and obviously they're playing a lesser opponent, Ball State, but it's just hard not to feel good about both sides of the football right now. There's just not a lot of holes that you can really poke on this Tiger roster.
All right, Aaron Murray joining us of the SEC Network, ESPN, on the Higginbotham Hotline. Let's go to Georgia, a team that I know you study. We actually had a caller reference some of your feedback that you shared on social about Gunnar Stockton recently. The stuff down the field, like I get it. You want to see it. I understand. I do think protection's been an issue. I would like to see him have more straight drop back opportunities personally. Like I hate pull protection, play action protection with a puller, like gap scheme protect. I can't stand it. I know it has its place. I get it. I feel like they've leaned on that just a little bit too much. What has to happen for that to take place this weekend? Is it just going to be direct calls from Bobo to where he doesn't have much of a choice? I think some of this stuff is potentially trying to get him comfortable. Some could be setting some things up. I'm not in panic mode, but a lot of Georgia fans are. Where are you on the Georgia passing game?
Yeah, I do think it starts with the offensive line. You bring up the gap protection. I mean, hell, the first game, some slide protections got them where, they're oversliding, guy slides right through, and then there's pressure on the quarterback. So
we try not to bring that up on this show. So we try not to talk about slide protection. Yeah.
I know you love slide protection. I mean, hell, I saw it with Texas too. There's a clip that I did an Arch breakdown too, where you see Arch late in the game start to feel the pressure a little bit, and his feet just get so erratic, and he's getting knocked around as well against a lesser opponent. I think it was San Jose State. So, it just feel like this year there's been so much inconsistency at the offensive line across the SEC, which go back to Auburn, which is why you feel pretty good about Auburn the way they played up front to start the season. But I think the offensive line for Georgia's got to be way better in the pass game. I mean, there was 2 or 3 calls from last week alone where there's a deep route called, a deep route concept. I remember one right now that there's a dagger route coming from left to right. And it's a 3rd and long situation. I think it's like a 3rd and 12, 3rd and 15, whatever it is. And it's coming open. It's perfect. It's 2 high safeties. The inside the inside clear route takes the safety. You got that big 18-yard dagger in route coming from the outside. And Gunnar has to run because there's pressure. And it just feels like more times than not, when Bobo does dial something, there is the inability to kind of get through a 5-step drop or a 2-hitch drop on a 3-step to be able to throw the ball down the field. And as a coordinator, you're not going to put your quarterback in a situation to where he's having to run around or get hit if the offensive line's not doing their thing. So I think first things first, offensive line has to protect. I think the second thing for Gunnar is there are multiple times in the first game of the season, and I'll say this with the caveat of I don't know what's going in the quarterback room, even though I know Bobo. This is me just understanding route concepts and how routes develop and how reads work. Multiple times in the first 2 games where he is rushing through his progression. He is predetermining where he wants to go, and there are guys open down the field that he's just eliminating through the progression. And I'm like, week 1, there's we talk about dig routes, dagger routes, concepts versus cover 2, which are perfect. And the dagger route's coming wide open backside. It's cover 2. You get the tight end sitting on the linebacker, and he completely brushes right through it and then takes off and runs. Last game, there's a deep out route by the receiver and a tight end coming from right to left that's going to replace the linebacker. Linebacker gets width. The tight end's coming wide open, and he skips the tight end to get to the running back on his right, and the running back's covered at that linebacker, and he has to run. It's like, just play within the system. Go through your progressions the way that Bubba was designing it, and the plays will be there for you too. So I think he's got to be better with his progressions. Offensive line's got to be better. I think the receivers are doing a good job. Would love to see, what the heck's up with Noah Thomas, only 3 catches for 24 yards. You got to find a way to get him one-on-one. But everyone's got to be better. And you brought up are Georgia fans in panic mode? I think they are. And honestly, from what I've seen, I'm not very encouraged at all, because the issues that were there a year ago, especially the offensive line, are here again this year. It doesn't seem to me that there's been much improvement with the 5 guys up front. And you're going into what I would consider the most hostile environment in the SEC. It's going to be, I spoke at the Knoxville Touchdown Club on Monday. I was there. They are pumped. They are juiced. That place is going to be shaking. I've played there twice. It is hell. Young quarterback, first game on the road. He doesn't trust his offensive line at times. The offensive line's not playing great at times. I just think it could be. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I do worry for Georgia's offense going into this one that I don't know if they're going to be able to be as consistent as Bobo and Kirby are going to want them to be.
Yeah, it's all fair. On the flip side of that, can they find a way if they get any sort of protection? Because that D-line can get after you to take advantage of these corner situation that Tennessee's going to have on the field?
I hope so, because I do love the way Colby's played. I mean, you heard about it all offseason about Colby Young, about how focused and determined he's been, coming back onto the roster. And he's looked that, especially in the second half. Kirby, I'm sure, ripped those guys at halftime during the rain delay about playing with more physicality. And he's someone that jumped off the tape that was very physical coming out. Get me the football. Let me run over some dudes. Show my size. Show my strength. I've liked what I've seen from London Humphreys to start the season. Obviously, Zachariah Branch, not only in the quick string game, but you had a nice, somewhat of a medium shallow across the field, showed off of his speed versus man-to-man. I want to see Noah Thomas take some shots with him. But it's a willingness, and you saw it last week actually with Vanderbilt, where Diego and that staff, they just called go balls. And Diego just took three and just threw it. And Gunner, that's something that Gunner does do well. He can throw the ball down the field. So I do think that Bobo is just going to have to say, you know what, let's just take some 3 and hitches, like you alluded to. That doesn't have to be play action, just 3 and a hitch. And we have 2 guys on the outside and Noah and Colby that can go up there and win one-on-ones. And let's just try 3 or 4 of them and see what happens.
Absolutely. All right, Aaron Murray joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Quick question. I don't even really know how much you put into this or what you take away from last week, but your opinion on Alabama, is it now stable after Louisiana Monroe? Is it still on shaky ground? Where do you stand on the Crimson Tide after a nice bounce-back performance against a lower-tier opponent?
Yeah, I thought I saw a lot of good stuff from Ty week 1. I don't think Ty played as bad as maybe people thought he played. And I think that there was other issues. Obviously, the defense was a major concern based on watching that game. So I was like, I saw good stuff that he can continue to improve in his second game, going forward, where I'm not afraid of Ty Simpson. I think the skill around him is absolutely tremendous. I love the receivers. Bernard has been an absolute beast. I think they got obviously other great guys as well. And Ryan Williams is going to be, the Ryan Williams that we know and can be. So I think from a skill standpoint and a quarterback standpoint, I think you should feel good. I think the defense is still going to be, one of the better units in the SEC. So I think it was just a bad game, first game. I don't like the lack of hustle and the lack of fight at times in the trenches against FSU. But hell, I think FSU is a really good football team. So we may look back and say, you know what, crappy game on the road. They weren't expecting it. They got punched in the mouth and they just weren't ready to fight back. But I just think that roster, Cole, and you know it better than I do, I just think it's really talented on both sides. And I think that, like I said, you have a quarterback that I believe is athletic enough that can make the throws. That, in week 1 versus Florida State, there were times where he himself was holding on the ball a little bit too long, not letting it rip. But the talent's there. The talent around him's there. The defense is there. This is a team that to me, obviously they haven't lost a game in the SEC, is going to be right there at the end to be in Atlanta, to be in the playoffs. And, all eyes obviously will be on that game against Georgia here in a couple weeks in Athens. And I'm excited to see what those teams look like and, see if they got some momentum heading into it.
Absolutely. Aaron, great stuff, man. Appreciate the time. Always great catching up with you, and we'll do it again soon.
Appreciate it, Cole. See ya.
All right, there you go. Aaron Murray of the SEC Network, ESPN, joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline, talking a little Georgia, Tennessee this weekend. Auburn this weekend. They'll get South Alabama, so one more week that they get to polish some things up, might not learn a ton. And then they get Oklahoma, which we saw Oklahoma against Michigan this past weekend look very impressive. Train is impressive, and they want to make sure your home is as well as far as the temperature. Heat and humidity here in Alabama can be brutal. Don't let it affect your home and family. Keep them comfortable with an affordable Train cooling system. They've been recognized as America's most trusted brand 11 consecutive years, and they're the official cooling partner here at Jocks. Find a comfort specialist near you at Train.com. It's hard to stop a train. Okay, we will come back, talk a little bit more about what Aaron Murray had to say and some injury news across college football next right here on Jocks. We mentioned Alabama getting back on the field this weekend against Wisconsin, a team that trying to find their identity just a little bit. New offensive coordinator, Jeff Grimes, goes up. They've played Miami of Ohio and Middle Tennessee. So the tests have not necessarily been great for Wisconsin. But Luke Fickell says his players are excited about this opportunity to face off against the Crimson Tide.
Those ones that I know guys, had circled for many reasons, right? Obviously, the way things went last year, but also for the idea of look, there's nothing more that you want to do as a competitor than be in the biggest games and the biggest competition out there, and to go to Alabama to play in front of that crowd, to go down there to play, in the SEC country. I think that there's not a guy within our program that doesn't say that's one of the reasons why they're here. And so it's only Monday, and we haven't seen what that actually looks like as you go out to practice. But where last week, on a Monday and a Tuesday, there was a coach that was prodding guys and making sure they understood the urgency and the things that we had to be able to do every single day in practice. That won't be the case this week. So that's sometimes the thing about coaching. You kind of recognize when you really got to get the prod out and when you got to kind of, even step back and let these guys kind of be the leaders that they are and be the emotions that they are and have the week that they will. And so this is one of those ones, there's no doubt that these guys are going to be excited about.
Okay, no doubt, he says. Also, Luke Fickell on how his team is preparing to handle the noise at Bryant-Denny Stadium.
This week to simulate the stadium environment. I know it's an early game and they always complain about that down there, but how do you?
What do they complain? I didn't know that.
They don't like early games.
Okay.
They get really mad about them.
Well, good.
Is there anything?
I don't think they asked us what time we wanted to play though. Yes. I mean, we're going to play the music. We'll be prepared better than we were last year when we went to Iowa. That's what I can truly say. And that might have been one of those ones that I don't say it caught you off guard, but it was maybe even louder than what we had expected. And I know that we had a plan going in there. It was more of a third down plan. It wasn't a first and second down plan, but then we had to adjust. It was one of those things, that we'll never be in that position again. So all week we'll be, going with some different cadence things and put a little bit more on the guys up front to make sure we're all on the same page. We started that last night in our Sunday practice. Can you really get the noise as loud as it's going to be on Saturday? I don't think we can, but we'll surely try.
I mean, it's not always the noise that you have to try and replicate. It's the environment sometimes that cannot be replicated, that you can't look at and say, oh yeah, it's going to be just like this. You might be able to say you can't communicate in a similar fashion, but it's a little bit more of all of it and what that atmosphere is, and looking up in the stands and the lights and the people and the cheers and the songs, whatever that is. It's not just, hey, can my center talk to my guard on this play? So I think replicating the environments are what becomes a little bit more difficult sometimes. Luke Fickell was asked about Ryan Williams and his status.
When you face a receiver like Ryan Williams, just what does he do to a defense? Just you see the talent and the speed and everything, but what's he do to a defense when you're trying to cover a guy like that?
Oh, it's a hard look to simulate. Let's just start there, because it's not like you've got a bunch of those guys that we can put in there to say, hey, we're gonna simulate the speed. But his versatility, I think the way they move him around is where even seeing the growth from last year to game one. Again, we got to prepare like he's going to be there. I would assume that he's going to be there, but also you can put too much of a focus on things like that too. So I think there's a balance. It's not like the other guys are guys that you don't have to worry about, or guys you wouldn't like to some way somehow double cover or have some in and outs on. So I think you got to be able to do the things that you do, but you got to also be aware of the different things that in particular he brings.
I'll be interested to see with Lostis Brooks and Rico Scott now in the lineup, getting a little bit of work, how that affects Ryan Williams and how he moves, different things that maybe they can plan for him, different things that they can try to do for him as they prepare for this matchup against Wisconsin. Last week, from a passing perspective, Nicholas Vadiato, 20 of 31, 197, a touchdown and a pick. So not the best day through the air. And as Greg stated, the health of the quarterback at Wisconsin is going to be big as far as what that looks like and what that is moving forward. There was one question that I wanted to get to you guys and the listeners on, and that is simply, do you care? I'll ask you about what, and you can let us know if you do next, right here on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. A couple injury notes around college football for you. UNLV quarterback Alex Orji out for the year. Texas running back Trey Wisner doubtful for the Longhorns this weekend. Did not play against San Jose State. Sark saying that that's more precautionary than anything. Needs him later in the year. Well, we've talked about Tennessee's corner situation. Rob McCord, Ricky Gibson out. Northwestern running back David Braun head coach David Braun announced that running back Cam Porter is going to be out for the year. He's been their leading rusher the last 2 years. That's not good for the Wildcats. So, and also Biff Poggi is going to be the interim head coach for Sharon Moore's 2-game suspension. That'll be fun. Where are you guys on this one? Mondays, we always get the TV leaks for the 2 weeks later, the games, what time they're going to be.
Right.
Okay.
Michigan State's playing at USC on September the 20th.
I'm sure I'll watch it somehow, some way.
Will you?
Oh boy, don't tell me.
Will you watch all of it is the question.
it will be on a screen in my living room for its 3-ish hours, in theory.
All of it?
I mean, I'm sure I'll go to the bathroom at some point, so I guess I have to miss it. Stir the
Michigan
crock pot.
State at USC will kick off on Big Boy Fox,
Okay.
September the 20th at 11 p.m. Eastern.
Okay, so Big Ten after dark.
Big Ten into the morning.
Right. Yeah, I'll take a peek.
This is egregious.
It seems a little late.
This is egregious.
I mean, it's only 8 o'clock.
If this
out
were
west.
UCLA, maybe. If this were Oregon, maybe.
Yeah.
Michigan State, you're going to make them kick off at 11 Eastern.
It's the Big Ten nowadays, man.
Why are you giving USC their way then?
I don't know.
If I'm Michigan State, I want USC at 10 a.m. Eastern next year.
Return the trip.
No questions asked. No, not a single question asked. This is just dumb.
It's the old Big Ten after dark, man.
It will give us better football in a different window,
Yeah.
I guess. Hey, Aiden Charles has looked good this year, quarterback from Michigan State, and USC, I don't think they're bad.
Right.
All right. So you guys are okay with that?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's not a must-watch game. It'll be on. It's just a question of usually with that late game, I'll make it to halftime.
Maybe.
That's as far as I can get.
I don't think there's any way I get all 4 quarters of that one in. Unless I have to drive somewhere after my game and we have it on. That just
Yeah.
feels like, oh.
You know, Michigan State may need to get there probably Wednesday to get, adjusted for a couple
To
days.
get the time change going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I'm here for it.
Okay. Are you here for this reasoning for an AP poll voter? Haley Sawyer moved Florida up this week after their loss to USF. And a lot of people are mad about it. A lot of people are upset about it. A lot of people are angry about it. Yesterday, she attempted to explain why she made some of the moves that she did on her AP ballot, and it sounded like this.
But as far as what my votes are and what my process is, I wake up early in the morning after covering a game late in the night before. Don't want to go too much into my progress or process or logic, but I will say I appreciate everybody's interaction on social media and all of your feedback. There's tons of people that vote on the AP poll, and it's not a perfect system, but at the end of the day, no matter who you pick, it does even out because there's so many people who vote. And like I said, it's really fun for discussion. It doesn't, probably matter in the end, but I'm glad that people are having a really good time.
She moved Florida from 16 to 14 after the loss to USF, and USF is not ranked. She had Florida State 10, South Carolina 14 in her week 2 ballot. Florida State obviously beat an FCS team by 74. South Carolina beat an FCS team by 28. She moved South Carolina to 10 in front of FSU at 11. She had Oklahoma at 18, Tennessee at 25. After Tennessee beat an FCS opponent and Oklahoma beat number 15 Michigan, she moved Tennessee up 13 spots to 12 in front of Oklahoma at 15. She had Clemson 5 in week 2, and after the Tigers beat Troy narrowly 27-16, she dropped them 18 spots to 23. She had Alabama 11 in week 2 after they beat Louisiana Monroe and FBS team 73-0. She dropped them 6 spots to 17. She had Kansas week 2 at 19, Iowa State 23 after Iowa State had defeated Kansas State.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you. Y'all give these votes out. So I'm not mad at it. You knew what you were doing. If you didn't vet the people that you allowed to vote, that's a you problem. And if you didn't give clear criteria as to how to vote, also a you problem.
Yep.
I've seen a lot of people really mad about this, and they haven't asked those questions. What does the AP ask? Because it sounds to me like a straight guessing game is good enough for them.
Slap a team on there. What you feeling this week?
We are literally throwing darts behind our back.
Yeah.
Like we are throwing behind the back passes with a dart at a dartboard blindfold.
Yeah. I wasn't upset, but I will say the complete deflection of her response is kind of a slap in the face of, okay, yeah, you have a vote, and for you to say, oh, it really doesn't matter, and I don't want to get into my process. When you have the teams that you have where they are, I think you need to actually get in the weeds on why you think this way. That's just my take on it. But
do you think people are more mad about what she did or what she said?
I think what she said.
And low-key, kind of how.
Yeah.
The flippant attitude of, it'll work itself out.
The giggling didn't help.
Doesn't make you right. No. Does not make you right.
Let me explain my process. I wake up. I don't need to tell you my process.
Right.
Like, come on.
Like we kind of need to know. Like,
we're just asking. I think we know what it is. Yeah. I look at box scores and then I throw darts. That's about it.
Right.
Now, just to further some of the ridiculousness of the poll, there are still 9 AP voters that have SMU ranked and Baylor unranked.
I've seen that head-to-head.
9.
I've seen that head-to-head.
I feel like we have a perfect barometer of where one team should be and the other team should not be.
Absolutely.
However, 9 of them completely going against that grain, swimming directly upstream on the wrong side of the road there, just heading down the tracks the wrong direction. Even though we told you that way, you're going the other way. We put the two teams on the same field. They competed. There was a clear victor and a clear loser. And y'all chose to completely disregard it.
Like, they have seen the tape. We've synced it.
It's there.
It's there.
It actually lives. It was even televised.
Yeah.
You had a chance to watch it.
Well, it was on the CW. It was on the CW. Baylor versus SMU wasn't.
Right. Everyone should have that one. You don't have to pay for that one.
But there was also games on ABC and Fox.
I do like the people that are, I like the folks that are coming out saying people would kill for an AP vote. No, they wouldn't.
No,
stop.
No.
Stop it right now. There's not those people aren't real. These people waking up that you think are saying, how do I get my AP vote today? And I'm going to be honest with you. I bet the majority of people that do it after week 3 are like, to hell with this.
Right.
No. And then they start throwing darts. I would love to talk to some of these people's process after week 8, after you got past 11.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, them.
Strength of schedule.
What did I have last week? Let's see. Who won? Move them up. Who lost? Okay, I'll move them up higher because they lost.
Right.
I would be willing to bet for the majority of them, it's a giant CYA.
Yeah.
Okay, if I have this team here, who have they lost to and who did the team that they lost to beat? And did that team beat the team that they lost to? Okay, so I'm okay there. I'm okay. It's not even I think that team's that good.
Nope.
It's if I put that team there, let's go through the things that people can be mad about. Okay.
How many SEC teams are
They lost to them. Who did that team? Oh, no, that team lost to Citadel. Okay, that's going to hurt me. There, I can't do that. That's going to make those fans mad. Okay. Do we have a head? We don't have a head-to-head. Okay. What computer metric do I want to use today to justify this team being at 21?
PFF.
That's what it is. I mean, not for Haley. She just
instead of actually using the eye test, they overthink it.
Yeah.
Like, what's going to give me less social media pushback? That's what I'm going to research. That's what I'm going to do. We're cooked as a society, y'all.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And the fact, again, Florida lost and you moved them up. If Florida would have won that ball game, they would have been a top 5 team in her eyes. That's all. That's what I'm getting at.
Maybe.
I mean,
I also feel like Damien, she clearly could have said that.
Yeah.
right.
When asked about her process, could have said, I felt like Florida was a really good team last week. I felt like they had made some fluky mistakes. So I still feel like they're a very good team. Therefore, the team that beat them is not ranked ahead of them or even ranked at all.
Right.
And that's where you would have lost us.
Yeah.
Now, I guess I have a question about all this outrage. I fully understand it. AP voting right now doesn't look all that great. Why do we not have the same kind of outrage towards the coaches poll? Because we know good and hell well they're not watching, at least in theory.
Because Dabo Sweeney doesn't get on a podcast that has video and say these things about it. That's why.
Well, he's not asked about
this
it.
would have gone away in less than a day if she didn't do that interview. There would have been a couple people out there that caught wind of this, got a little bit mad about it, and something else. Alex Orji would have been out for the season, or somebody would have said something in a press conference, or Oregon would have put their theatrical performance out from their game that they won, and that would have been a talk. Well, what, he said that again, and that would have been gone. But that became the video of the day for college football everywhere. And so if she wouldn't have done that, this wouldn't be happening.
Because I feel like this has been, at least for the AP voters, this has been their MO the entire time. And now, to be fair, I do think there are some that take it seriously and put in a good amount of effort. But I think more often than not, we get more Haleys than we do, I don't know what's an AP voter.
It's published, by the way.
Right.
Right. Exactly.
You
at
can
least
go find them.
The coaches can at least hide behind, I don't remember who I voted. They can at least play that off.
This is good. This is going to take a second, but I'm just going to try this, okay? You tell me to stop when you've either one, heard of the individual, or two, know who they cover. Okay? Here we go. Spencer Ripchick, Joe Aruda, Michael Katz, Julian Minanasan, Garland Gillen, Louis Vatcher, Jerry Humphrey, Zach Klein, Brian Howell, Brenna Green, David Pascal, Matt Marshall. We've had Matt on the show.
Yeah.
Mike Hill.
Zach Klein sounds familiar.
Nicole Auerbach.
I know her. Yeah.
Okay. Ian, do you know who she's technically affiliated with as far as covering?
Is it the Athletic?
The big.
Or wait,
Big
is it a
10
specific
as a
team?
whole.
The affiliation is listed as Michigan.
So yeah, big.
Ian Kress, Blair Kirchhoff, Alex Taylor, Johnny McGongill, Kate Rogerson, Mike Jocks,
Hey.
not JOX,
Stacy's brother.
Mason Young, Scott Hamilton, not the skier
Oh, okay.
or skater, John Johnson, Eric Hansen, Sean Reeder, Randy Johnson, not the pitcher.
What?
Haley Sawyer.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
see,
I'm
we
familiar
know
with
her
that
now.
one, yeah.
We know
I'm
you
familiar
now.
with her.
Bob Asmussen, Jordan McPherson, Mike Haas, David Briggs, Sean Goodwin, Eric McMahon, Andy Yamashita, Josh Furlong, Brian Finesca, Henry Greenstein. We've had him on the show. He covers Kansas. Stephen Johnson, Dave Preston, Michael Lev, Chad Bishop, Chris Murray, Keith Farmer, Craig Stevenson. We know Craig. He covers South Alabama. He's been on the show before. Robert Cessna, Trevor Haas, Brett McMurphy.
Brett McMurphy. Yeah.
By the way, he's listed as affiliated with Oklahoma State. Reese Davis.
Yo, Reese.
that guy.
I think we've heard of him before.
Okay,
Yeah.
Jamal St. Cyr.
Wait, who does Reese cover?
Sir, Alabama is listed as affiliated.
Oh,
with.
wow.
Hell yeah.
Makes sense.
We got one.
man say.
Bob Ballou, Pete Welter, Tom Murphy, David Jablonski.
Tom Murphy, Arkansas Democrat Gazette.
Yes, correct.
There we go.
Okay.
Ralph Russo, we know.
Oh, yeah.
Dylan Sin, Stephen Means, Kirk Kinney, Pete Yanity. I feel like these are like minors in the old gold rush. Javon Edmonds, Kirk Bowles. We've had Kirk on the show plenty. He's awesome. Koki Riley, Greg Medea, John Wilner, John's San Jose Mercury. We've had him on the show before. Sam McGowan. She should know him.
Nebraska.
Well, yeah, but doesn't mean we know him.
Yeah.
By the way, I read off an Auburn reporter, a South Carolina reporter, 2 LSU reporters, a Tennessee reporter, a Georgia reporter, an Ole Miss reporter, a Vanderbilt reporter in all of those, and a Kentucky reporter and a Texas reporter. Yeah.
Oh.
Not Kirk Bowles, Texas. Bob Ballou, Texas.
Oh, Bobby B.
Scott Hamilton, South Carolina. Jerry Humphrey, Auburn. Garland Gillen, LSU. Michael Katz, Ole Miss. Julian Meneshawn, Vanderbilt. So that's what you got. If you're wondering who votes and where these votes come from. I don't know what to make of it. The problem is, I will say, is that as we get later in the season and we start discussing some of these resumes, you will often hear guilty, hand raised. So-and-so has defeated 2 AP top 25 teams on the road. So-and-so is the only team in the country that has 3 wins against AP top 15 teams. You'll hear that. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so now when we hear that, this is immediately what we're going to think about.
But that means if you beat Florida, that's a pretty important win, at least to one person.
Maybe that's the goal.
Yeah.
Actually, based on the explanation, there's no goal. There's not a singular goal anywhere.
Nope.
It is literally just, hey, guys, thanks for letting me play. This has been fun. Back with more after this. If you thought that this was going to discontinue as well after our segment and not continue to go, Danny Cannell tweeting out another favorite pollster. Meet at Koki Riley from Baton Rouge. He has Alabama 2 spots ahead of FSU. Florida 5 spots ahead of USF, and Arizona State is ranked while Mississippi State is not.
Oh, boy.
Danny Cannell's the voice of reason.
This may be it for the AP poll, guys.
It's done.
It may be done. Ralph Russo moves on, and the thing goes to hell in a handbasket. Thanks, Ralph.
Appreciate it. All this carnage.
Oh, man. All right, let's get to our bad box score of the day quickly. Familiar faces here. The Minnesota North College Vermilion. Great mascot, by the way.
Oh, they're the O-linemen.
No.
Oh. Sucking
The
up.
Wolves?
They're the Iron Hawks.
Iron Hawks.
They didn't fly, nor did they punch back with an iron fist against the Rochester Community and Technical College.
The Vandals.
No, we just had them.
It's the Yellow Jackets.
Yellow
It's the same
Jackets.
as Georgia Tech. It's like if
Yeah.
it's a Tech, just guess Yellow Jackets. You'll be right. Don't forget about your CBD store. They are open. If you need a better night's sleep, arthritis, anxiety for you or your pet, the largest brick-and-mortar CBD retailer in the world has products that can help you. Skincare, gut health, they can help you with that. Products to curb your appetite. The Trim by SunMed in stock now. First company to have USDA-certified organic oil supplements. They've got the stamp seal. Visit one of their 3 locations today. Highway 280 by Bailey Brothers, 150 by the Cage in Cleaver, Trussville, just off 459. Your CBD store where good health hits home. Score of the game was 64-0.
Okay, not as bad as 94.
No, Rochester got the win, but I got to give you a couple of these numbers. Just 311 yards of total offense for Rochester. 163 on the ground, 217 through the air.
Okay.
It's the other side of things that we need to talk about. Minnesota North College Vermilion had total yards in the game minus 24.
I couldn't hear you.
924. That's pretty good.
I couldn't hear you.
There's actually a minus sign, then 24. There's a minus sign, and then a 2 and a 4.
Okay.
They had backwards 24 total yards in the game
Oh, boy.
on 48 plays. That's an average of minus 0.5 per play.
This really makes
I actually want to see the tape of this game.
This makes me sick. Absolutely.
I need
disgusting.
tape of this game.
Credit to them for putting out the box score, though, because
There's
other
I
beatdowns
will
we
say
haven't
that.
seen it.
I will
That is
say
true.
that is fair. And you know what? Minnesota North College Vermilion, I'll give you credit for that. They were 6 of 19 passing for 27 yards. They did throw 3 picks. They rushed the ball 29 times for minus 51 yards.
Offensive line can't get a push.
Get in the corner and get a pump.
That wouldn't even have helped. What are the running backs looking at? Like, what are they doing?
Looking at.
Like, what?
I don't think they had time after they were handed the football to look
my
at anything.
gosh. Just bad ball. Let's go 5 wide. Get it out quick.
I need.
Might not have mattered.
God.
Here we go. I'm finding trying to find defensive stats. I need tackles for loss.
We ain't blocking
I
nobody.
don't have it for here Rochester TFLs. They didn't list them.
Give them a
They
look.
did have 7 sacks in the game.
Okay, well, that doesn't help.
Logan Clancy 10 carries minus 8 yards.